gentlemen, welcome to the Ariel Helwani Show!
Back in your life on this Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. Hello again, everyone. I actually startled myself with that back. Was that too high, Frank?
I thought it was perfect.
I came out hot. I was like, holy crap.
You got something to say today.
Yeah, I'm fired up, Frank. You know why I'm fired up? It's a beautiful day. It's actually nicer today than it was yesterday. It's a fun thing about doing a daily show. You can update everyone on the weather day to day, not every 3 days or 4 days. That's very exciting. Today, I believe high of 27. And you know people are buzzing here in New York City. Our New York Knickerbockers begin their quest to become the 2024-2025 NBA champions today. Yeah, my son told me yesterday, this is a very proud moment for me. My son Walter told me that his plan was to wear a Knicks jersey every day that they play this year. Now, there are 82 games in a season, and I believe he only owns 2 jerseys. So it's a little problematic. It reminds me of young Ariel back in 1994 in the playoff run. During that playoff run for about 2.5 months. Yes. I like that. Oh, welcome back on air, Jordan. I missed these lower thirds. During that playoff run, I alternated between a Ewing jersey and a Starks jersey every single day for 2.5 months. A little dirty, a little gross, but you know, you got to do it sometimes for your teams. Now, speaking of our teams as well, tonight it's Helwani versus Burks in the MLS playoffs. In case you guys didn't know, single elimination knockout game. Montreal CF going up against Atlanta United at Saputo Field in Montreal. Your level of optimism going into the game, Mr. Burks?
Yeah, man, we snuck in 9 seed. This is for everything.
This is it. No,
we're gonna watch it together.
No paraphernalia. No.
Nah, man, I had to support the Liberty, WNBA champs yesterday, and then I had to get my shine in for the Dogs. Went on the road, beat the number 1 team in the country. No one cared. No one cared around here. No congratulations.
No, nothing.
No, nothing.
Well, we expect that. From the back-to-back champs, but this is MLS playoff time.
Yeah, if Atlanta United wins, then I'll rub it in your face tomorrow and wear my Atlanta United shirt.
Fair. Winner plays Inter Miami, by the way, so that should be fun.
34-point gap between old Inter Miami and Atlanta United.
Who's the favorite, by the way?
God, if I know, man.
Okay, work on that and get back to us. No,
I'm already on MLS. We're already.
Let's get him on the screen. He loves when he's on the screen when he's Googling.
Atlanta United plus 175.
Okay.
Montreal plus 140. Draw plus 230.
I don't know how a draw would work if it's a knockout, but
to advance, Montreal minus 125, Atlanta United.
There it is. There it is. You know, it wasn't a draw. Last night at the City Ground, Forest winning 1-0 against Crystal Palace, now up to 8th place in the Premier League. No one is laughing now. Yes, there's a nice little update for all of you. Forest on fire. Forest is on fire. Headed off to play Steve Cooper on Friday. Looking forward to that. And this is a very special day for me, my friends. You know why? Because 24 years ago today, 24 years ago, kind of blows my mind. My good friends and I, Josh Newpel, Richie Scheim, Alan Dudkowitz, was Brandon a part of it? I don't know. I send them an email every week. Excuse me, not every week. Every year I send it to them, wishing them a happy anniversary. Let me see. Here's Andrew Kligger, of course. I send them an email every year, October 22nd, to wish them a happy anniversary because we all attended No Mercy, WWF No Mercy, October 22nd, 2000. We attended this event, and it was a great one because Kurt Angle won the WWF Championship. It was all about the return of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Everyone wanted to know who ran him over in the car, and there was Rikishi showing up saying, "It was me, Austin. It was me all along." And they had a no-holds-barred match, but the real story was over at the Pepsi Arena. The real story was Kurt Angle defeating The Rock to win the WWF Championship. It's true. It's damn true. He was a year into his career in the WWF, and he made it happen for the first time. I was there in attendance, and for some reason that date is just, I don't know, it's engraved in my brain, and I always remember, and I always send an email to my friends who we drove down from Montreal to Albany. I think it was like a 4.5 hour drive. We stayed at a really shitty motel. We saw Harvey Wimpleman from afar, and my friend asked him where his tennis racket was, and he said, "That's Jim Cornette, you asshole." It was a great time. We had a wonderful time, and then we drove back the next day. Some news so happy No Mercy Day to all of you. Some news since we spoke yesterday. Tatiana Suarez is out of the highly anticipated fight against Virna Jandiroba on December 7th. I reached out to Virna's team. I asked them if she's going to stay on the card. Of course, she's one of our own. She's one of our own. She's one of our own. There she is, right over there. Virna Jandiroba, she's one of our own. As of now, no replacement. So I don't know what's going on in that division. It's a weird one. Is it, I don't know. Is she going to fight for the belt? I don't think so. It feels like we've been waiting on Tatiana Suarez to fight for the belt, and there continues to be bad news. She did refute the report that she was out yesterday on Twitter, it seemed, and then deleted the tweets. So I don't know what that means. That's December 7th, the last pay-per-view of the year. The next pay-per-view, of course, is this weekend, UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi. That's what it's called. Abu Dhabi. That's what it's called. You know what show that's from, guys? Anyone know? Anyone?
No,
Garfield.
Nailed it.
Garfield, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you sing this every year.
Yeah. That is true.
It's tough.
That's the first. That's the first time I ever heard of Abu Dhabi on the Garfield cartoon show. They're over in Abu Dhabi right now. And how about Alex Volkanovski? He's so smart. It reminds me of Alex when he was trying to get a featherweight title fight. He flew from Australia to Edmonton just to be the backup fighter. He flew from Australia to Abu Dhabi to be the backup for the lightweight title fight. And so here he is in Abu Dhabi saying hello to everyone, just letting everyone know that he is there, just letting them know that his presence is in the building. And if they slip up, he's ready to step up on short notice. Alex Volkanovski going up to both the champion and challenger in Abu Dhabi. Do we have any of this or no? There it is. Okay. Here he is with Max. Yeah, look at them.
Good seeing you, my guy. You too, mate. Good seeing you.
Cordial.
Thank you.
And we also have him with Ilya Taporia, in case you didn't believe me. There he is. Hello, how are you? All good? Everyone happy? And so Volk just going around shaking everyone's hands, letting them know, yo, I'm here and I'm next. Keep my belt warm. I like it. Gamesmanship. But it also, there's Ash. Also puts him in the mix. Makes his presence known, makes his presence felt. I think it's very smart on Volk and his team's part. Now, as far as today's program is concerned, speaking of UFC 308, we'll have Aleksandar Rakic on the program at around 1:30 Eastern. Aleksandar Rakic returning to action on Saturday, his first fight since UFC 300. Massive, massive fight. I mean, you can make a strong case, the third most important fight on the card. Main event, obviously, for the belt, co-main, Whitaker, Chimaev, and then Rakic against Magomed Ankalaev. The winner could very well be next for Pereira, especially if it's Ankalaev. Rakic trying to ruin all the plans. And so we'll talk to him at 1:30. At 2 o'clock, we'll talk to Eric Nicksick, who is in Abu Dhabi to corner his guy, Dan Ige. He goes up against Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy will be joining Pizzi on this week's episode of The Crack on Friday, so stay tuned for that. We'll talk to Nicksick, of course, about what happened Saturday in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. His guy, Francis Ngannou, who joined us yesterday on the program, had the massive win over Renan Ferreira. We'll talk to him about all of that. Speaking of PFL, we'll talk to the legend Dan Hardy at 2:30. He's back in New York. He's helping his wife, Veronica Hardy, prepare for her next bout. Dan Hardy, always a great mind, always a great chat with him. We'll talk to him about PFL. We'll get a little insight into 308. He does a tremendous job breaking down the fights as well. And then we shall end things off with the hangman himself, Dan Hooker, joining us from all the way down in Auckland, New Zealand. One of the countries that I've yet to visit, and I would love to visit Auckland. I would absolutely love to visit Auckland. There's the lineup for today. 4 gents joining us on the program, in addition to everything else that we are talking about. By the way, speaking of 308, Saturday, first watch party right here at our HQ. We'll have GC, we'll have New York Rick, we'll have a cast of characters, including the great mysterious Frank. It begins at 1:45 p.m. Eastern. this Saturday, and it's an afternoon card because of Abu Dhabi. Did I say Friday? I may have said Friday. I meant Saturday if I did say.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I was getting confused in the crack and all that. It's this Saturday, the pay-per-view, UFC 308. And afterwards, we'll have a post-show, and that'll be up on the YouTube channel, which you're perhaps looking at right now. There it is. Or up on our pod feeds. If you're watching the channel right now, give us a thumbs up in the chat. Thumbs up to the chat. Thumbs up to the chat. Thumbs up. Hit the sub. Hit the like. Hit the bell. Sub to the pod feeds. Now, the biggest story, I would say, since we last spoke, is the simmering feud between one Brendan Schaub and Nathan Diaz. Who saw this coming? And perhaps if you're an old head, if you will, you probably did see it coming, because it does date back 7 years, but it has escalated rather quickly. There is a lot of back and forth going on, and I thought it would be a good service to everyone watching, listening, to perhaps bring you up to speed as to how we got here. Because like I said, this isn't a new thing that just popped off. It's a feud. It's a relationship that dates back about 7 or so years. So let us go to the receipt machine and take you on a little trip down memory lane. You'll recall back in 2017, Brendan Schaub was a part of the Showtime crew that presented the Mayweather-McGregor card. That was a big deal. Brendan and Nathan had a bit of a run-in backstage in the build-up to that card. In case you never saw it or in case you forgot about it, here's that clip.
You didn't win 4 rounds? You didn't win 4 rounds? You didn't win no rounds?
So tough to make it all out, but as you can see, there's a relationship there. I'm not going to say feud. I'm not going to say there's animosity, but it did seem as though Nate took umbrage with some things that Brendan said about him leading up to that fight. And I think it really does date back to the second McGregor-Diaz fight, which happened the year before, back in 2016. And so then nothing really happened for quite some time, at least that I know of. It seemed quite cordial between the two of them for many, many years, but things got reignited very recently. Brendan Schaub on his podcast, I believe the Schaub Show it is entitled, spoke about his very good friend, former training partner and a guy that he has gone to battle with in the gym, Shane Carwin, speaking in the midst of this antitrust lawsuit about some of his health issues and some of the things that he can and cannot do and some of the issues that he is dealing with post-fighting. And honestly, Brendan Schaub was very emotional talking about this. And I personally thought that there was nothing wrong about it. He was talking about a friend. It seemed extremely sincere and coming from a very good place. He was talking about how heartbreaking it was to hear about these things. I do believe they still have a relationship. And I do believe that, he is still in his life to some degree. And no one wants to see a friend and struggle like that. No one wants to see their health deteriorate like that. No one wants to see them deal with these kinds of issues. So it seemed to me like Brendan was speaking from the heart, and it seemed like he got a lot of love for that. Well, he did not appear to get a lot of love from Nathan Diaz, because after that clip went everywhere, Nathan Diaz tweeted this: "Brendan, the big old pussy Schaub. Dang." And so, yeah, and there was a crying emoji, by the way. It didn't sit well, I guess, with Brendan Schaub for him to tweet that. And Brendan even responded on Twitter. And it seemed like this was just going to remain a Twitter beef, if you will. Brendan responds with, "Oh, buddy, I probably got 20 pounds on you, so not too far off. I'll snap your neck, set up a grappling match, and let me know how it goes for you. Have one of your handlers read this tweet and get back to me." Dang. So that kick things off a little bit as well. And it seemed like we were now escalating this feud. Yesterday on the program, you may recall, I asked Craig Jones, the founder of CJI, the Craig Jones Invitational, which by all accounts, very, very popular and successful. Their debut events happened back in August. I asked him about the possibility of booking, since Brendan threw out the idea of them grappling. I asked him about the idea of booking, the possibility of them booking a Brendan Schaub, Nathan Diaz grappling match. Here's what Craig Jones had to say. Are people hitting you up? I want to be a part of it. I saw someone say to me, book Brendan Schaub versus Nate Diaz at the next one. I don't know if you saw that back and forth. Brendan Schaub challenged him to a grappling match last week. Did you see that?
I'm interested, but only if you commentate that grappling match.
Yeah, sign me up. I'm in. If you make that match happen, I'm in.
Honestly, anything entertaining enough like that would be amazing. But Nate Diaz would probably physically attack him before we got to the grappling stage.
That's cool. I mean, that's all part. I feel like you'd welcome that.
Part of the drama. You know, who knows? Maybe Brendan Schaub does what I did to Gabby, throws a little kiss in there, throws him off his game.
Okay, so Craig seems interested, but he wants me to commentate. Let's see. Let's see how many zeros are on that check, but certainly of interest. By the way, in the midst of all of this, Brendan also talking about, that he was offered a game-bred MMA fight, bare knuckle MMA fight, not interested. He's retired. And so, this is kind of all just there. It's all in the ether. But then last night, courtesy of my friend Andrew Feldman, who tweeted the clip, it seemed to go from 0 to 100 real quick, as the great Aubrey Graham once said, because Brendan Schaub just unloaded. I mean, he just absolutely unloaded. And listen, it's exhausting being in feuds like this. I wouldn't know, but this is what I've heard. And so I was just watching it, and I was like, wow, it seems to have gotten very, very personal. So I would urge you all to go check out the show, The Schaub Show. Big fan here. And I saw the clip, and I was like, this is a different side of Brendan. This feels like a side of Brendan that we have never seen before, certainly in the media career of Brendan Schaub, because it seems like the shackles are off. He's saying what he wants to say. Repercussions, blowback, pushback be damn. He's speaking from the heart here, and it's always easiest to speak from the heart, especially when it's about a topic that is near and dear to your heart. Here's a quick clip or so of what Brendan Schaub had to say in response and with regards to Nathan Diaz.
Here's what's real. I will fuck you up. That's real. I'm not asking for this. I don't want to fuck him up. I'm not trying to fuck him up. End of the day, if he walked in right now, I said, Chin, Case, can you guys leave? Only one of us is going to walk out unscathed, and it's me. There's many of guys that you fucks with.
Oh, can you pause right there?
Ask them how it went.
I just wanted to pause right there. Did you guys notice him say fucks?
I did notice that, yeah.
Yeah. So I get a lot of flack for saying fucks with, but I just wanted you guys to note that he said fucks.
It has been noted.
Thank you.
This is what legitimizes it?
I think so.
Okay.
I fucks with it. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, you can continue.
Rolled with. Ask them how it went. Go ahead and ask them. Very close guys to you. Ask them how it went, bud. That's real. This isn't real. And the difference between you and I, Nate, a million fucking things, don't get me started. But the difference between you and I, if you start crying because your brother who has CT,
that's getting
the difference
personal.
between you and I is if your brother, and Shane's a brother to me, if your actual fucking brother came out and started getting emotional, or if you started coming out getting emotional about your brother's issues with CT and fighting and all this shit, because we know he has his issues, I would support you, even though you've been a dick to me the entire time.
So as you can see, very, very personal, very fired up. Brendan Schaub going off. A lot of people said, are we, it was very mixed. I saw some of the reaction on the one hand, it's like, hey, are we witnessing the babyface turn of one Brendan Schaub? And then a lot of other people said like, nah, Nate would mess you up. Nate is one of the most beloved and popular fighters in the history of fighting, period. And so this is getting really interesting. I have not seen this side of Brendan Schaub before. I have not seen him get this fired up and lay down a challenge like this and make these kinds of threats. In case you're wondering, it does appear as though Nathan Diaz saw the clip in one way, shape, or form, and he did tweet this early this morning. He said, "I think you'd be surprised," with the laughing emoji. That, by the way, is in reference to the infamous interview, if you will, where Brendan Schaub was on the Joe Rogan show, and Rogan was talking to him about, him hanging up the gloves, and he couldn't hang with the top guys at the time. I believe Cain Velasquez was the top guy, and Schaub was pushing back, and Rogan hit him with the, "I think you'd be surprised how that fight would go if, in fact, you did fight one of those guys." So that was a good callback. That was definitely a deep cut. And so here we are. Where does this go from here? Where's the next twist and turn going to come from? It did get us thinking about, just how these two would match up. If, in fact, I will admit, there is a part of me that feels like there is something brewing here. Are they working towards a match? Is there a big pot at the end of this rainbow? And so we did cook up for all of you a nice little tail of the tape. Here it is, right over here, tail of the tape. Nate Diaz currently standing at 6 feet even. Brendan Schaub, 6'4". Diaz around 180 pounds last time we saw him. Schaub 245, could very well be more than that. If you're wondering about comedy specials, Brendan Schaub 2-0 for Nathan Diaz. So perhaps that goes in Brendan's favor or not, depending on whether or not you enjoyed the shows. The area codes that they represent: 209 versus 303. Two very iconic area codes, if you ask me. There's more, though. We're not just doing one tail of the tape here. We actually have a zeroed in tail of the tape, if you will. Here you go. You got the weight, you got the height right over there. But what about some career highlights? Nathan Diaz fought for the UFC lightweight title. Brendan Schaub, I think a lot of people don't give him credit. They only know him as the podcast host / YouTube guy / comedian. Was at one time one of the best heavyweights in the world. There's no doubt about that. In fact, even once knocked out Mirko Krokop. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. Nathan Diaz, like we said, is from Stockton, California, and Brendan Schaub hosts the Fighter and the Kid show alongside our good pal Brian Kalin, and also the Schaub show. We talked about this yesterday. Nathan Diaz, founder of the BMF belt. It all started with him in August of 2019. That is perhaps his greatest claim to fame. And I don't know if it's apples to apples here, but worth noting, 1.1 on IMDb for Gringo Papi. I didn't put that in there. That was on Air Jordan. That had nothing to do with me. I want no smoke here, okay? I just want the world to know. I'm just an innocent bystander just trying to, call this down the middle. And so I think it's really interesting. One person who has been locked in on this feud, sending me all kinds of content since it all kicked off, is our own Pete Carroll, who I think has some thoughts on what's been brewing here. He has been, dare I say, captivated by it, enthralled by it. Is that not correct, Pete?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not really about the fight or the grappling match that's being proposed here, as far as I'm concerned. It's about the resurgence of Brendan Schaub, who, by all intents and purposes, was the most hated man on the internet for a number of years. Obviously, you referenced Gringo Papi there. Last Saturday, I texted you, right?
Yeah.
I think it was last Saturday, and I said, I think Schaub was on the bounce back. I'd been on Instagram, and it became the butt of a lot of jokes in the comedy circles. I see like Shane Gillis, the guy who just hosted SNL, one of the most famous comedians in the world at the moment, liking his content as Schaub took a more kind of self-deprecating view of himself. So again this morning, and I text you about this too, I was inundated with people saying, wow, Schaub's really bodied him here. And I'm like, this is the most amount of dubs, even just by some people's perspective, of seeing Schaub get in a very long time. So I think that's interesting. I do think that when you went through the beautiful timeline there, and fantastic work from all the crew taking us through this epic situation. But I do think the lines about Shane, obviously him, Nate slagging that Schaub was emotional about Shane, and then Schaub adding Nick into the mix, I think that's what has potentially got this simmering over. But honestly, Schaub saying, I've only got 20 pounds on this guy? That's crazy. Are you joking me, mate? He's a monstrous dude. I think, yeah, as the graphic shows, Nate Diaz, I think his heaviest weigh-in was about 181 or something like that. Schaub's lightest was 245. Massive weight difference. Generally in fighting, if the guy is taller and heavier than you, he's gonna win. I know there's some exceptions to that rule in Pride, and yeah, Schaub a decorated black belt, so I could imagine that would be a very difficult task for Nate Diaz if they were to rumble in a grappling.
Does
arena.
It feel like they're working towards something here?
Well, you don't start saying I'm gonna rip your neck off and stuff like that unless you're gonna do it. You don't start saying that to someone unless you're ready to go there. I never thought Schaub would entertain the idea of fighting again. And for Diaz, like, we talked about the idea of someone taking on Jake Paul from the MMA world and then beating Jake Paul and then becoming, a martyr because of that. This could be a situation like that for Diaz as well. As we know, even though I've mentioned about this bounce back, Schaub has been a character that has took a lot of abuse in the MMA community. Maybe Nate's looking at it like, wow, this could be this could rejuvenate the situation for me following the Paul fight if I went in against B Schaub. I don't know though. Likelihood of it happening, very low, I'd imagine.
I think this could do massive numbers. Like if I'm Craig Jones, if I'm Polaris, if I'm the Fight Pass Invitational, if I'm Abu Dhabi, I'm trying to make this happen, right? I mean, could you imagine the buildup? Could you imagine the buzz? By the way, in case you're wondering, shout out to Antoine for the poll. If this grappling match actually happens, who wins according to the poll? Thumbs up to the chat. Brendan Schaub, 37%. Nathan Diaz, 29%. Comedy, 34%.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
I feel like there's something here. I call me crazy. Maybe I'm a pro wrestling guy. I feel like there's a seed. I feel like they're working towards something. And I, for one, say I would watch. I think I would watch. I'm actually fascinated by it. I mean, it's kind of old school Pride, right? It's open weight, massive weight difference. I would say Nate is the better grappler, but then, I mean, I don't think anyone would disagree with that. But then the size difference makes it tricky for him. This is sort of like DJ versus Bradley Martin in some respects. Maybe not that big, but you get what I'm saying.
Rick mentioned the Schaub shutdown against Cyborg at Metamoris years ago.
Yeah.
That was really impressive. Like Cyborg is a genuine savage, like a world champion ADCC, and Schaub went in against him. And although it was utterly boring, without a doubt, like it still shows an enormous skill set to be able to keep a guy like that off you, like off your heels, off your legs. He's great with entanglements like that. How bizarre is it that the thing that has injected energy into the jiu-jitsu community is Craig Jones and Gabby Garcia.
I love it.
And now Nate Diaz and Brendan Schaub. Like, this is going to rejuvenate the sport of grappling. Unbelievable.
It's almost like the influencer version of what happened to boxing is now and these guys are far from influencers, so to speak. But it just goes back to show that you need to be emotionally invested in the characters, in the storylines, in the feuds. It can't always just be, oh, who's the better man? There has to be something there. There has to be some sizzle to the steak. And listen, if I'm one of these guys right now, I am working feverishly to make this happen. I think the buildup would be incredible. I think it would be gigantic business. I would buy the pay-per-view. If it's like $14.99 or something on YouTube or on some platform, I would happily buy that. I'm locked in.
Only if it's $14.99. Are you serious, mate?
Yeah, if it's $15.99, that's a little too steep. There's only so much that I can...
Do you think Schaub can rejuvenate his career? Like, honestly, when it was at a low point, I thought there was no way back. I'm quite, like, I think fair play to him.
I think there's something happening here. I don't know if it's a full face turn, but I think he's having a moment. And if you look at the comments, especially the quote tweets, there are a lot of people saying, like, is this the beginning of the face turn? And you bring up a great point, and it's a point that is valid when it comes to any person from any walk of life. If you are self-deprecating, if you are real, if you are authentic, if you don't appear to be trying too hard to win people over, people tend to side with you and tend to like you. I mean, isn't that Nate Diaz in a nutshell? Isn't that why people love him so much? Because he's authentic, because he's real, because he doesn't appear to be trying too hard. But Brendan, in this battle here, in this war of words, so to speak, and let's be fair, Brendan has said a lot. Nate has sent off a couple tweets, but clearly, the initial one hit him in his heart. Brendan's going for the jugular. Like, he's making this quite personal, talking about the brother, talking about where he's from. Like, these aren't just words. He's making this very personal. In fact, he's inviting the challenge. He's saying, pull up, essentially, right? Isn't that what he's saying? He's saying, come
That's
through.
Exactly what he's saying. He's saying, you and the guy you fucks with.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
You heard that,
All
right?
of you pull up.
You heard that.
I heard it. I can't really do it. I think it's more of an American thing. Irish people saying it just sounds ridiculous.
I heard it.
Do you fucks with those people?
Yeah. I will say this about Brendan and the rant. I was watching it. I was like, it was like that, that meme of the woman who's like, you know that one? And it was going so well.
Cooking.
It was going so well until he said Sacramento instead of Stockton.
I thought that was a joke I didn't get or something. I was like, even I know that. I'm from a different country. That's crazy. But
I don't think that was on purpose.
Oh, no.
I think he just got Sacramento. I mean, they're close to each other. They're both in NorCal. It was like, oh, okay. Oh, Sacramento, for fuck's sake. So close. So close.
But the Nick thing is not going to...
Yeah.
You have a brother. You know what that's like. It's a different level.
Yeah.
You can fight with your brother your whole life, but as soon as someone else starts messing with your brother, things get heated very quickly. And I think that's the straw that broke the camel's back for Nate. And obviously Brendan very hurt because Nate seems to be taking the piss out of him, being emotional over his friend, but you can completely understand. And I thought he did a great job on that whole thing about Karen, which I said last week.
What do you think happens next?
I don't know. Like, what else can happen? More tweets, more videos? I mean, I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see, Pete. And by the way, we missed you yesterday.
Thank you. I watched it. You said a great chat at the end about bagels. That was fun.
Oh, you love that?
Really wanted to be part about that. You know what I mean? Wanted to weigh in.
We can re-rack it if you have an opinion to share.
Let me just tease it out for a few hours, and then maybe at the back end I can make a profound statement about bagels.
Okay, yeah. We did mention the fact that you had never heard of locks outside of New York.
I appreciated that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a thing outside of the wonderful United States of America.
It's definitely a thing in Canada. I know that.
North America, whatever. North America, one of them.
In a moment, thank you for that, PT, and I hope that we provided a great service to everyone who was a little bit confused as to what was going on here between these two characters in our beloved world of mixed martial arts. In a couple of minutes, we're going to be joined by Aleksandar Rakic, who is just finishing up his training in Abu Dhabi. That card coming up on Saturday in Abu Dhabi. They always do it big over there. They always have great cards, and this one no different. I love this card. I love this main event. I love the co-main event. And it does appear, by the way, in case you're worried, in case you're wondering, Khamzat is there. He's in good form. He's in good spirits. I saw how Robert Whittaker looks as well. It appears as though this is going to happen, my friends. It really does appear like this is going to happen. A lot of people are going crazy over the shorts that were revealed. I wanted to go to our merch expert, Mr. GC, to ask him about the shorts, because I saw some people going nuts saying these are the greatest shorts in the history of the UFC. Now our standards have gotten quite low from the old days. I mean,
these are not low quality. This is not low standard. These are unbelievable.
What's so unbelievable,
dude? What isn't unbelievable about them? Adding the bowl in, the red and black. I love red and black with the gold trim all over it. I mean, it looks fantastic. And then near like the UFC logo, like kind of in the crotch region, like it looks like they added in some sort of like matador design that like a matador would wear. These are fantastic. 10 out of 10.
I would just say that we have been so ruined as people from the Reebok era that we think that just a little design is something.
A little design. The whole shorts here are designed.
But there was once a time where we had like anything. You can literally fight in a kilt.
I mean, to me, Chuck Liddell's like the Iceman ones. Yeah. Like those are like the.
Do you think these are better than the Iceman?
No. I don't think these are better than the Iceman.
So that's what I'm talking about.
I think these are better than a lot from that Reebok.
We once had, well, Iceman is pre-Reebok, but like we once had in the glory days incredible shorts, and now people are talking about these are like the most innovative and I mean, listen.
These are going toe to toe with a lot of the great shorts in history.
Hot take: the Max Holloway Hawaiian-inspired shorts might be nicer.
Okay, so you're saying this is a 1 versus 2, a pound for pound shorts battle that we have going on.
I like Pereira's shorts.
I like Pereira's shorts, but
I like Zhang Wei Li's shorts.
Zhang's are also fantastic. Look at you complimenting all these shorts. And now
I'm just saying.
Now they've fully added purple into the rotation as well, which is a huge development. We thought it was just going to be Ian Gary. We thought it was just going to be Brendan Allen. Now I think Charles Johnson wore them this past weekend. I mean, purple.
Oh, anyone is allowed to wear them now.
It's a color of the rainbow. It's a standard color. Let's.
All I'm saying is I saw
when's
everyone.
Pink coming in?
I would love Pink. Is Pink not one of them?
O'Malley had the pink one time.
Yes. No, it really should be every color, especially I believe October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so you should definitely be allowed to wear pink in October. My kids' soccer team, they wear pink socks.
I feel like that kind of fell out of trend with the NFL. Remember everyone used to wear sweatbands and cleats and all that?
What happened?
I don't know, man. I guess the money moved somewhere else.
Yeah. My only point is I saw everyone going gaga over the shorts, and I was like, all right, they're fine.
But they're so much better than just red shorts with gold trim.
1,000%. The standard ones that we used to get back in the day, 100%. I still feel like they haven't got it right with the gloves.
Yeah.
It's got to be what you said, black with gold lettering,
black
not gold with black.
These Taporia ones, these shorts though, I love the bull.
These are the best ever.
Of the custom shorts, these are my favorite so far. Yeah.
By the way, where is the bull? What am I missing here? Is it on the left? Oh,
you see it like on the back, and you can see the horns. I guess this is the best picture for it. Yeah, on the left, on his right side will be a bull. Yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing, and then like the Matador designs, the colors. I'm a sucker for red and black, my favorite color scheme. So yeah, I mean these are top notch. And we're assuming Max is going to wear the Hawaiian ones. I'm just assuming that's what's going to happen.
I'm assuming too, but it would be nice if they upped it a little bit. Because the last time we saw him was when UFC 300. That's when he debuted them. Right?
I don't think they're going to up it.
You don't think so?
I mean, Pereira wore the same ones.
Were they the exact same?
Yeah.
I wonder where they draw the line. Like, will Hamzat get his own? And what's that going to be? I'm afraid to ask.
Whitaker's look like? Hamzat's gonna have a wolf on it if you have a bull on Elias.
Yeah, and Whitaker's can have the Grim Reaper.
That'd be sick.
Yeah,
now we're talking
for Halloween.
You want to know what one of my favorite shorts that's wildly simple was just the John Jones Nike ones.
Oh yeah, you see, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
I mean, I think he had Gatorade, the G, right?
Gatorade on the front and then the Nike on the back.
That felt like as mainstream as it gets for MMA.
And they had the Bones Nose Nike shirts you could buy.
Yeah.
That's about
Look at you calling back to 2012.
Yeah. I mean, people around like college campuses were wearing that and stuff.
They were?
Oh, yeah.
You were in college back then?
Yeah, I was a freshman in 2012, yeah.
You were rocking the Bones Nose back then?
No, not me. Not me. I hadn't gotten into my merch phase.
You're like, who's this Bones guy?
Yeah, probably would have said, who is this Bones guy?
That era plus Anderson Silva rocking the Burger King shorts.
Oh, I've seen pictures. Those are all-timers, yeah. Getting some mainstream sponsors in there.
Would be nice. Now we've got, who did I see? I saw on Saturday. It drives me nuts that PFL tries to, I mean, they wear uniforms there too. That drives me insane. You gotta give the guys personality. You gotta let them.
I didn't hate the Cyborg Pacheco unis.
Okay, you didn't hate, really?
Those were all right.
What was up with that? That was like, what was it? Like spray paint or something? What was it?
I don't know.
It was a little too much, no?
Yeah.
And what was it? Were they doing it because it was a title fight?
I don't know, man.
I need some of these answers, please.
I only know so much about the uniforms, and I definitely only know so much about the PFL uniforms.
Level of excitement, 1 to 10 for Saturday?
10.
10?
Yeah, dude.
Were you the one, or was it Rick who said this was his most anticipated fight?
This is my most anticipated fight.
This is it?
Yeah, cannot wait. I really don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's the thing. Plus, you dressed up the thing. It just hit me right now.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're going to add the Artist Series poster. Fantastic one from Joe Art, I believe is his name.
Average Joe Art?
Average Joe Art, yes.
He's a legend.
Sorry. Yes, he did the Artist Series poster this week. It
wow.
is phenomenal.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. It's like Georgia, Spain, Hawaii, America, Blessed Express, Bull. I'll have to get a full screen of it later.
Yeah, no.
It'll be hanging. Yeah,
I would love to see it.
If we could just show it.
I was waiting. I was like, is this it?
Here describing it. But yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, 10 out of 10 in terms of excitement. I mean, just like both storylines of whoever wins. If Max gets his belt back, I mean, like how hot can you possibly get? If Ilya beats Max, what a 2024 he's had. Beat Volk and Max, two of the greatest featherweights of all time in the exact same year. Especially if he stops Max. Oh my gosh. It'll be absolutely nutty to continue his undefeated reign. Yeah, I can't wait. Whitaker, Hamzat, unbelievable fight. Ige, Lerone Murphy, fantastic fight. Magomed Ankalaev, Aleksandar Rakic. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Chris Barnett kicking off the card against Kennedy and Nzechukwu. That's going to be a wild matchup. I think it's 5'9" versus 6'6". I mean, that's what dreams are made of.
Sharp Bullet
on the card.
Jeff Neal RDA on the prelims.
Jeff Neal RDA, which is just a fantastic scrap. You got Multibeck Oralbai going. I mean, there's some they always put on a good show in Abu Dhabi.
What's the daytime card? Yeah, daytime 45. You're good. You guys are saying 2 p.m.
We'll be out of here by 5 o'clock. We'll be catching happy hour on Saturday. It's going to be fantastic.
But you're not one of those people who says that if Ilya wins, he usurps Pereira's Fighter of the Year, right?
I said to Rick before the show today, if he goes out there and knocks Max out cold, I may have to do something.
Serious?
Brother, if he starches Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway in the same year.
But that's 3 big wins.
Both those wins are better than any of Pereira's wins.
All right.
We can have the discussion on Monday. We have to see what happens.
Yes.
Max Holloway is very alive in this fight.
All right, so there it is. The watch party at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time.
First one, kicking it off for the Uncrowned Era.
Post-show immediately following. And in a matter of moments, we're going to be joined, I do believe, from all the way from Abu Dhabi. We're going to be joined by Aleksandar Rakic, who has a massive fight. Afterwards, we'll be joined by Eric Nicksick, who is also in Abu Dhabi. He's there with Dan Ige, who has a massive fight of his own against Lerone Murphy. Obviously, last time we saw Dan Ige, he was on his couch the day of that card, June 29th card. What was that, 303? And then Brian Ortega withdrew, and then there he was, fighting like 6 hours later. Insane. A little longer of a training camp this time. He didn't get to fight on the Sphere card, but he's still getting a solid placement here on this one. And then Dan Hardy, and then, of course, Dan Hooker, who has been in the crosshairs, if you will, of one Conor McGregor recently. Both McGregor and and Hooker were at the BKFC card in Marbella. I never realized so many people had such trouble saying Marbella. I heard Marbella, I heard Marabella, I heard all kinds of different variations. But here we are. It was in Marbella, and so that is coming. Dan Hooker against Conor McGregor in 2025. We'll talk to Dan Hooker about that. For now, though, let us go to Abu Dhabi and say hello to our old friend Aleksandar Rakic, who returns to action on Saturday against Magomed Ankalaev, a massive fight in the light heavyweight division. There he is. Aleksandar Rakic is here. Hello, Alexander. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Ariel?
I'm doing great. So I'm assuming everything going well over there for you in Abu Dhabi, and obviously this is a massive, massive fight for many different reasons. It seems, though, after what transpired a couple weeks ago in Salt Lake City, that there's a potential title shot at stake here, certainly for Magomed. Do you believe that if you win on Saturday, you're the next man to fight Alex Pereira?
Honestly, yes, I am, but I don't want to talk too much. I want just to perform on Saturday, and with my performance, every question will be answered.
Okay, can I ask, when you were offered Magomed, what was your reaction? Were you surprised? Because a lot of people thought that Magomed would be next for Alex Pereira.
First of all, I was surprised. Secondly, I was very happy because UFC gave me this opportunity to fight the number 2 ranked guy in the world. And like you said, he was supposed to fight. There were rumors that he's fighting Pereira. But then when I got the name, I was like, wow, that's awesome. That's huge. And I'm very happy because, it's not always winning fights. It's also how you perform. And I think after the performance on UFC 300 against Jiří Procházka, and obviously the UFC liked that, they gave me that shot, So, yeah, and the UFC knew that I was not 100% healthy in that last fight against Jiří Procházka. They knew everything. They knew that I was on heavy medication and still put this performance. I think that's the reason they give me also the opportunity to fight Ankalaev now in Abu Dhabi.
What was wrong when you fought Procházka?
I got a really bad staph infection on my right elbow 4 days before the fight on Tuesday. like a lot of pain, fever, and I was on heavy medication. I drank like antibiotics. I went one day before the weigh-ins. I was in the hospital. I had an IV, and yeah, it is what it is. I went in. I gave all what I did. I was ready for it, but my body shuts down in that fight in the second round, and this never happened to me because I'm fighting for so long time, and this kind of feeling I never had in my life. So I would not say the infection is an excuse, but I would say that I was not 100% healthy in that fight.
Do you regret taking the fight? Do you regret sticking with it and actually going out there?
No, I don't regret. I was there, the biggest card in of this year, and one of the biggest card in UFC history. I put on a show, and you see, I opened my door to another great fight against Ankalaev on Saturday.
And in that fight, you were looking good early on. Do you think that's what affected you? Do you think the body and the way you were reacting to the illness and to the medication shut you down and then led to the victory for Yuri?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not an excuse, but I was not healthy, and I felt it in my body. I have many fights, not only in MMA. I did it also in kickboxing. And I never felt something like that on UFC 300. The body, how the body shut down in 1 second. Like my legs are giving out, my body giving out, and this I never experienced in my life, and I hope this never happen again.
I understand why you would say that you don't regret sticking with the fight because you had not fought in about 2 years, right? How did you feel in there just given the layoff? How was your confidence?
Oh, I mean, honestly, when I look back, it didn't feel like so long that I didn't fought for 2 years. So it was like pretty normal for me. Like I didn't fought for a couple of months. Everything went smooth. The weight cut went smooth. The camp and everything besides that was nice. But yeah. I think the consistency now to fight every couple of months, it's going to be only, I'm going to improve and getting better and better from fight to fight. And like we have like now, 4 or 5 months after my last fight. So I'm into the material, I'm into it. And the camp was amazing. The weight cut is going really good. I feel good. I have good mood still when I'm cutting weight. I have good mood. The whole team is excited, and we have a lot of fun here in Abu Dhabi.
How do you feel about the UFC's decision to give the title shot to Roundtree and not to Magomed?
I mean, that's up to them. I don't know why they did it, but in the end of the day, after the performance what Pereira and Khalil gave in Salt Lake City, they made a right decision because it was a hell of a fight from both guys. It was a stand-up war, and this is what the people want. And I think this is also what the UFC want. And I think everybody was happy excepting Magomed Ankalaev, I think, at that day.
Were you surprised at how well Roundtree did?
Oh, I know Roundtree is a tough fighter and tough guy, but I was really surprised about his striking. He improved a lot from the last fights, and man, the conditioning was also good. But Pereira, you need to handle Pereira's pressure, and Khalil could do it the first 3 rounds. After that, of course, he got tired, and it's also Salt Lake City, high elevation. I understand everything, but he did a great performance, against the great champion.
There is a thought out there that the UFC would rather Magomed not fight for a belt, perhaps because he's not the most popular fighter or exciting fighter, or maybe because he's a bad matchup for Alex. Are you taking this assignment on to say, okay, I will get rid of this guy for you, and that may make the bosses happy? Do you view it like that?
No, and I mean the bosses. They gave me one name. I accepted, and because after the year fight, I was not in a position to choose any opponent. I was like, I will take anyone who they give me, and in that situation, they gave me Ankalaev, the best ranked opponent after Yuri Prochazka and Alex Pereira. So it was like I was really surprised, and I mean my 100% focus is on Ankalaev, and I will not. I'm not thinking even on the belt or on Alex Pereira. My 100% focus is on Ankalaev on Saturday, and then after this fight, then we can talk, and then we can see what are the next steps, But I believe if I put a great performance, the answer will come by his own.
When the fight was announced, Magomed Ankalaev went on Twitter and wrote, "Now everybody knows that I'm not fighting for the title and will fight Rakic in Abu Dhabi. Whoever Mick Maynard gives me, I will smash their face so that they can no longer deny me if I do my job impressively. I feel sorry for whoever is going to fight me from now on going forward." Do you think he's going to fight emotionally? Do you think he's going to fight with a chip on his shoulder? When you hear this, what do you think?
I mean, everybody has the right to say whatever he wants and to write what he wants, And in that moment, he felt like that. One thing is to say something. The other thing is to do some things. So, it's up to him if he take it emotionally, if he take it ice cold, or if he gonna be calculated. I'm pretty relaxed about the whole situation because in this camp I focused a lot of myself and on my skills and on my training camp, and of course I watched Magomed's fights, and we study him and we know what he's good at and what he's having, where he has problems. But first of all, for me is that I'm fighting one of the best guys in the division, and that's him.
What could you tell us about the scouting report? What's he good at? What's he not good at?
I mean, he is all-rounded, But this is one good thing. The bad things, it's a secret.
Okay, but you see things.
Yeah, I mean, everybody on this world have holes in the game. Everybody, the best of the best have goals. There is not a perfect fighter in this world that knows and can do every technique and every martial arts perfectly. So, and yes, of course, the people gonna say, yeah, but he's undefeated, he's that and that. Everybody has his own vision and how he look at it, and I think like that because MMA is a beautiful sport, and you know why it's beautiful? Because you have always room to improve your game, and after every fight you can be a different fighter. So that's the beauty of the MMA sport, and that's the reason I tell you that everybody on that world, in the MMA world, has holes.
By the way, just curious, now that you've looked at him closely, who do you think would win, Magomed or Alex, if they fought?
Oh, I really don't know. Probably, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I really don't know. I would maybe give it to Alex.
Okay.
I don't know, because he's been more in 5 rounds. I don't know, really.
Okay.
It could go either in more all-rounded, probably going to be Magomed Ankalaev, but you need to mix things up with Alex Pereira.
I did see an interview recently with Jan Blachowicz where he said that he thought that they are protecting Alex by booking Magomed versus you, that they don't want Magomed to fight Alex, so they booked him against you. Do you feel like there's something to that?
I don't think so. I mean, first of all, you need to fight anybody, and I think Pereira fought the last 3 guys. I mean, 2 times Prochazka and the Khalil, and yeah, I don't think so. So we will see.
Okay. You mentioned a great training camp. I saw a video montage of you training in the mountains. Where was this? I saw this on social media. Where were you? And do you always do this?
No, this was the first time I was in Bosnia, and I brought my whole team there. And this was on high elevation on 2,000 meters. I don't know how much feet. And I've been really through hell, like you see, carrying, sprinting, pads, and heavy wrestling drills. So just to get the gas tank, be ready and perform and go like 3/5s with no conditioning problems.
This looks like hell. This does not look fun at all, Aleksandar. How long are these sessions up there?
1.5 hours, but it was pretty. It was not so warm, so we didn't had so much break in between. So we moved from one exercise to the other one. So basically, we didn't had so much room for recovery.
I also saw you with Roberto Soldic on some like four-wheelers or something. Is that in the same spot or somewhere else?
Yes, this is the same spot. This is the city where Roberto Soldic is from, where he lives. I did a camp in his village. Yes, and this is where we also train the wrestling. This is on 2,000 square meter. And then Roberto is a hell of a southpaw as well. Of course, he's a middleweight, but I learned a lot of things from him because he been to many wars. And I had another great sparring partners, southpaws. I had Ahmed Krnic, who signed with Glory, who fought in ONE FC. I have Agron Smarkici, a pro boxer who was a sparring partner of Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, and Deontay Wilder. And I had some other guys, some wrestlers. So I've been like, this camp was one of the hardest physically and mentally for me.
Incredible. Well, you appear to be in phenomenal shape, and everything seems to be paying off, and hopefully we get a great performance. I also saw, by the way, that you met Mike Tyson at UFC 300. Was that your first time meeting Mike, and what was that like?
Yes, I mean, I went just out of the venue, after I lost the fight with Yuri, and you of course you are sad, you are down to earth, a world breaks down. But when I saw Mike, he's a fucking legend, in the whole boxing and MMA and martial arts era. So I was asking him, hey, can I take a picture with you? He gave me his hand. I kissed his hand, just for respect. This man did a lot of great things and took a picture, and it was amazing. It was an amazing moment for me.
You think he beats Jake Paul next month?
I'm 100% with Mike Tyson, all the time.
Will you watch it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Some people say they don't want to watch it, they don't want to support it, but it sounds like he's one of your favorites.
This cost me just a couple minutes of my life, and I do so many things on being on Instagram or TikTok on social media for nothing. So why don't spend some time for this,
Yeah, and it won't be a pay-per-view, so you're right. It's a free couple of minutes of your life. Aleksandar, so happy that you're back. Can't wait for this fight. I think it's a massive fight, a massive opportunity for you to maybe spoil some plans. That's a good spot to be in. And so I wish you all the best on Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck on this massive fight this coming weekend.
Thank you very much, and talk to you after the fight, hopefully.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Aleksandar. There he is, Aleksandar Rakic, fighting out of Vienna, Austria these days, but as you just heard and saw, training also out of Bosnia with the likes of Roberto Soldic, who we have not heard from in quite some time. Has also done some training with American Top Team, currently ranked number 5 in the UFC's light heavyweight rankings. And if he beats Magomed Ankalaev, he can screw up some plans. There's no doubt about it. I do believe he is a big underdog, right, GC? Isn't he a sizable dog?
Plus 300 right now.
Plus 300?
Yeah.
What's Ankalaev?
Minus 400 coming back.
Dang.
Right now, minus 430 Rakic, plus 300.
Fair? You think that's fair, just given how Ankalaev has looked and Rakic?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Rakic is pretty good.
Yeah, I love that fight. I think it's a great spot for him to be in. Obviously, he's lost his last 2 in a row, but there was the Prochaska fight he now explained. And again, some might say, "Oh, you're making excuses." I don't view it as such. He's just telling the story, which is fine. I'm asking him questions about the fight. And then prior to that was May of 2022, so almost 2 years prior to 300. He had the Blachowicz fight, but he got hurt. He injured his knee.
Yeah, I mean, he looked pretty good in both those fights up until he didn't.
Exactly.
So.
And then prior to that, he had 2 pretty solid wins. He had the decision win over Thiago Santos, and prior to that had the decision win over Anthony Smith. So 2-2 in his last 4, but a massive gap in between them. In case you're wondering, our friends over in the chat, 55% say Rakic is winning. Put your money where your mouth is, huh? 55% say Rakic is going to beat Magomed Ankalaev. All right, let's go back to Abu Dhabi. Our guest at this time, he's been spending a lot of time in the Middle East. He was in Riyadh on Saturday. We saw him front and center in Saudi Arabia next to his guy Francis as he had the incredibly emotional and impressive win over Henan Faheda. And then he flew over to Abu Dhabi to, of course, be by the side of one of his other guys, Dan Ige, who is fighting this weekend against Lerone Murphy. We're talking to the head man now. One of our favorites over at Extreme Couture, the great Eric Nicksick. There he is. Eric Nicksick, kind enough to join us. Eric, thank you so much. Great to have you. Congrats on Saturday. You're in Abu Dhabi, right? I got all that right for Dan Ige?
I'm in Abu Dhabi. Yep, I'm here right now.
Man, no rest, huh? You don't get a second to come down.
I slept pretty good last night. I finally got caught up on some sleep, so I feel good.
Obviously different circumstances, but I asked Francis this question yesterday. I wasn't sure if he was, more physically spent or emotionally spent because of everything that went into that fight. Would you say for yourself just how close he is to you and everything that has transpired over the last few months that it was just like an emotional dump afterwards, after the fight was over?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And Francis is a very quiet guy, keeps to himself, especially when it comes to a lot of his emotions. But that was something that he definitely spoke to me quite a bit about at length all camp long. I was telling Annie that it didn't really have much to do with the fight in the cage. It was more the fight in here, in your heart, and trying to get to the fight. Those were the hardest parts that I saw. Just from knowing Francis the way that I do. So yeah, it was a lot, man. And just seeing him get over that hump and being able to realize that that goal that he wanted to fight and get that win for Kobe, it just really meant a lot.
Were you nervous? Were you worried about him going in?
No, not at all. I mean, honestly, Ariel, like you and I talk all the time, man. I feel like it was already written, this guy's destiny is already written in some weird way. And I was more confident, I think, than any other fight I've had him for. And this was just a matter of him just going out and just knowing what he's capable of and executing. And that's what we saw.
I appreciate you saying more confident. I also wouldn't be surprised if deep down maybe there was a little bit of doubt. Even putting aside the personal tragedy, he is coming off a knockout loss, the first of his career. And so sometimes that changes fighters. You would know better than anyone. And so that's why I was wondering if there was any part of you. We remember how he looked after the first Stipe loss. And I know that he wasn't with you back then, but it could change you after you lose, and especially if you get knocked out. So I was wondering if you thought maybe he would be, trigger shy or something like that. You probably got a sense of where he was at mentally in training camp, and so probably all of that went away long before you guys got to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I feel like the God or fate or the universe puts these obstacles in front of us to not necessarily force you, but give you the opportunity to get over that hurdle. And I think time and time again, that's what we've seen with Francis and his resiliency and the type of human being that he is, that he's battle tested. So when things like this present themselves, and although it's an unimaginable tragedy that no human being should ever have to go through, if anybody can get through something like this, I knew it was going to be Francis. So for whatever reason, I just felt like it was put in front of him so he could get through it and go on to the next chapter of his life.
What was it like being back in Saudi Arabia for you? last time I think you were there was for the Joshua fight, right? I know it wasn't the same venue, but any of those feelings come back?
No, not really. And it was very different for me. I think the last two fights, obviously with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, just because of my role. I'm not his boxing coach, I'm his MMA coach. But this one was different because it was like, okay, now we get to sit down and go over the X's and O's and, hey, what do you want to do? How do you want to implement this game plan? What are your thoughts? Here's mine. I sat down with Randy, went over some stuff with Randy. I actually talked to Tom Aspinall. Like I just really wanted to make sure that in my mind, like I was seeing the same things that a lot of these guys were seeing and how to execute a good game plan and put our guy in the right position to win. And that was Francis's thought on the situation. We didn't want to make a coin flip fight where Renan Fajeda is very good on the feet. We knew that, he had some good knockouts, but we went back and really looked at where his holes in his game were and where we felt like we can excel. And that's kind of where it presented itself. So this whole fight to me was just very different, where I just like my involvement felt more like a part of like a normal training camp again.
I love that. You went to Big Tom for a scouting report. What did he have to say?
Tom and I are pretty close, man. And I check in with him and he checks in with me. We're pretty close friends. And dude, he's an ally. Like he's a guy that I actually hit up when we were going to Paris. And I was like, hey, if you're around, man, I'd like to have you come out, because the UFC was fighting in Paris that same week when I was there training with Francis. So I didn't know if the UFC was going to have him out. And because he was close in Manchester, he's like, oh, they're not bringing me. I'm going to be the backup for the card in New York, but I'd love to be able to come. And then he's like, here's a list of some of my guys that I use if you need to use them. So he's been a great ally. And I think like there's a mutual respect between Tom and Francis that I think that sportsmanship side of things. And Tom was writing me and just saying, bro, here's what I see in the fight. What do you think? And here's what I wrote, and back and forth. And, the fight played out how Tom and I kind of thought. And then he wrote me, he was like, hey, that's exactly what we said, So it was cool, man. He's a great guy.
Speaking of the way the fight played out, it was wild to see Francis shoot for the takedown so early, and some wondered if it was because of the leg kicks. Was it part of the plan to show off his wrestling that early in the fight?
Well, it's always part of the plan if it presents itself. The plan is to make sure that we're ready in all facets of the game, and that was definitely something that we leaned heavy on, and understanding that the path of least resistance to us was the wrestling, if we can get topside heavy. And then obviously I have one of the best mentors in the world in Randy Couture, and a guy who was in a heavyweight division as an undersized heavyweight, was able to take people down, and learning the biomechanics of how Randy did things. So I take a lot of those things and add it in and talk to Francis. Hey, where are you comfortable and how do you like to do these things? And really put that idea in Francis's hands and allow him to be comfortable in his ground and pound and his ground game. And I'll tell you what, man, it was a tough couple days, or 10, 12 days out there in Paris getting the crap kicked out of me.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. And I know what it's like. You've told us about the kicks and holding pads for him, the toll that it takes. Didn't you have to have shoulder surgery at some point due to the wear and tear?
Yeah, I had shoulder surgery in June, and it's already back to it's already sore again. So.
Oh God. I know you've talked about the story, but I'd love to ask as well about just being in the back with Cristiano Ronaldo, and again that shot when they went in the broadcast when they just go to the three of you just chilling there. I'm like, man, this is wild. Like, what a life. One of the most famous people on the planet. Could you tell us? And Francis told us yesterday that he was talking about some of the personal tragedy that he has dealt with. In that moment, how does that all materialize? Does he just walk in and say, "Hey, can I chat with you guys?" How does that all happen?
Man, I'll say this: like, for the level of star this man is, international star, like he's top 3 in the world, I think, when it comes to professional athletes. He felt like he was part of the team. And not only did he feel like he's part of the team, he was like one of the most down-to-earth human beings I've ever spoke to. So like for people that are fans of him, you rightfully should be a fan of this man. Like he was giving, he was caring, he was understanding. He felt like he really was like a part of our team. And, he gave me some advice on the things that he went through in his life, which we sat there and talked for 30 minutes, man.
Wow.
And he was like, hey, he goes, what's the game plan? Him and I are like chopping it up. And I was like, oh, hopefully we can take this guy down if it presents itself. And then he was talking about his own personal tragedies in his life and how it affected him. He was talking about Francis' demeanor and how he felt when he saw Francis. Was there any nervous energy? And we're just kind of going back and forth. And this is one of the best athletes in the world. And he was talking about, recently shooting penalty kicks to win a game. And he's like, man, like I was super nervous during this, and just a relatable human being with a star power of a 10, right? Like you're like, this guy, there's no way this guy's this cool and this normal. And he was. So it was, anybody that's a fan of Cristiano Ronaldo should just, be happy because he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
When you were thinking about the fight, like when you were envisioning it, did you feel like it was going to be a dominant first round win, or did you think it would go a little longer? When I was doing the broadcast, I set the line for a round and a half, and I went with the under. I felt like he was going to just completely show his class and that there's levels to this game. What were you thinking?
I hate to say this, but yeah, I felt the same way. Oh. I did too. I don't want to be like, oh, well, I knew my guy was going to smoke, but I just felt like there was a certain way about Francis, and especially after the face-off, I felt like Henan fucked up by like headbutting him and getting in his face, because it really took Francis to a different place. It really did. Like, I've never really seen Francis not necessarily mad, but it lit a fire under his ass in a different way. And I'm thankful for Henan for doing that. When he did that, I looked over at Dewey and I was like, yeah, dude, this is perfect. Thanks.
That moment where he wins and then he's immediately like just kind of overcome by emotion, and you run up to him, and I noticed that he kind of like waved you off for a moment there. Like, I think he was just saying, I need a minute. Was that your read on the situation?
Yeah, 100%. And like, looking back at it, I think we all just were so emotionally invested in the situation. Like, I didn't know how he was going to react. And like, I just wanted to get to him and just make sure he was okay. And then the moment he was like, hey, just give me a second, I'm like, you got it, brother. Yep, I'm right here. And I just, gave him a hug and watched him, and just kind of looked around and took it all in. And I could see the weight literally just lifting off his shoulders in that moment.
What was it like for you? Like when you saw him like that, when you saw him win, but then when you saw the emotion that he was exuding, what was going on in your mind? I could see it on your face too, but like what's going on in your head in that moment?
Oh my God, dude, Sean Strickland's going to rip on me because I'm fucking crying like a little baby. I was I'm a sympathy crier. If I see you crying, I'm like, oh man, like, so just seeing that outpour of emotion by Francis, and we had a little family gathering before we left for the venue, and it was intense. It was intense. There was like 10 or 15 family members in the team. We're all in a little meeting room, and we're singing songs and saying prayers. And I said a little bit of something. Dewey said something. We had like a speech, and then Francis spoke, and it got real emotional, man. Like, I don't want to go into detail, but there was a lot of emotions riding right before we left to go to the venue.
Wow.
And that's very different. Like, you don't I wouldn't recommend that before a title fight, right? So I don't know, like, just seeing him win and seeing him get over that hump that he needed to do, it just, man, I Dewey, Tripp, these guys spent 2 months in Paris. There's so much invested. There was so much riding on the line. That morning, Francis said to me before we went and shook out, he was like, Bubba, I'm nervous, man. Like, I feel like I have a lot of added pressure on me. And I don't know if that was him putting more pressure on him to perform the way that he did, but I think there was just a lot riding on Ariel.
Wow. And not something he usually says, like Tyson Fury, AJ, he doesn't usually say that stuff?
No, not even. Like, the Tyson Fury fight was so crazy because, like, I remember standing in the ring with him, and then like he's just like leaning up against the turnbuckles, all like super chill, super cool. And I looked over and I was like, dude, like you did it. Like here he is. And he's like, dude, I'm about to fight Tyson Fury. I was like, yeah, you are. So it's it's a very chill moment. This one was very different, had a very different connotation to it. Even like the walk, seeing him get in the cage, he was dialed in.
So there's a big debate now. What does he do next? Which sport does he compete in? Who does he fight? If it was up to Eric Nicksick, if he called you up and said, Bubba, what should I do? MMA, boxing? Who should I fight? What's the answer?
I'd take 3 months off, man, and just keep healing. I think that everybody in there's so many options for him out there right now. But the biggest battle for him is just to keep healing this heart.
Yeah.
That's it. And I don't think that there's Wilder, there's MMA, there's so many things that he can go and do. But my main concern is just making sure my guy is getting over this the best that he can. I don't think he ever will. I don't think anyone ever will. But time will heal all.
Is 3 months enough?
You never know, man. Honestly, I didn't know if he would even come back and fight after Kobe passed away. I didn't think he would, and rightfully so. But him coming back to Vegas and then him coming back to train, I think just helped him heal. And being around the team, being around the boys, getting back in the gym, and falling in love again with the process of training MMA, I think helped kind of move him along and going, I think I want to fight again. And then that started the healing process more than anything. So, we'll see what he wants to do next. And again, like whatever he decides, I'm always going to have his back.
If it was up to you, I would love for him to stay with MMA for a little bit, but I don't blame him if he wants to go back to boxing. He's just such a fascinating character in MMA. And now we see the evolution of his game. We weren't seeing him, shoot for takedowns like that so early in fights and use it to his advantage and win off a takedown. And so, my opinion doesn't matter, but I'm just wondering your opinion. Would you like to see him stick with MMA a little bit now?
Yeah, of course. I would love to have him stick with MMA because he's really evolving his game. And we're seeing a complete mixed martial artist. And this is something that we talked about 4 years ago. When him and I went to dinner, we talked about this and how do you want to be remembered by your legacy? How do you want to be remembered as a mixed martial artist? And how do you want to round out your game and evolve your game? Are you just going to be a knockout artist, or are we going to be able to, take people down? And that was always one of our goals, man, is to finish a fight via ground and pound. And then we did it. So I would love to see him continue in MMA because he's only getting better, in my opinion.
I feel like there's one more goal. There's a submission win out there that would be nice for him to get. He teased it last week. He said, "Hey, why not?" And in the end, he was on the road to that, but obviously the ground and pound opened up. That would be nice, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think he had the one with Anthony Hamilton where he almost ripped that poor guy's arm.
Oh yeah, but was he with you back then?
No.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, well, that was old school. Yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that one. I was just kind of banding about, and I threw out Rico Verhoeven as a potential super fight, kickboxing king, MMA king in a boxing match. And this thing has kind of taken a life of its own. Rico, in fact, reached out to me about it. Glory's reaching out to me about it. And then Francis told me they've trained together. Was that at Extreme Couture? Was that with you?
Yeah, no, we brought Rico in to help us for Serial Gone. Rico's amazing, dude. He's a great guy. He came out and helped us for I think he's out there for a week. But showed us a lot of really good things. And I talk to Rico all the time. He's a friend. But fighting's fighting. If these guys want to make some money, then go do your thing. So I'm all for it.
Would you be open to that? Like a crazy super fight between two of the best in a neutral sport?
Yeah, of course. I think whatever moves the needle, whatever makes these guys money. Rico, I consider a friend, but at the end of the day, I've cornered against a lot of guys I consider my friend. This is a business, so if the numbers match and these guys, can make some money off of it, why not?
I want to ask you about Dan Ige. He's fighting this weekend in Abu Dhabi. Much different scenario than the last time he fought. You guys get a nice training camp. Your thoughts on the matchup with Lerone Murphy, who has looked very good in the UFC as of late?
Great style matchup. Guys that are, I think, very similar in a lot of ways. Stances, movement. I think a guy in Lerone Murphy who is like that up and coming guy who we need to go take his O away. He's tough, he's durable. So I think a good fight for Dan to go out and really showcase his skill set. I think Dan has a little bit of extra things in his tools that he can show in this fight. But you're right. It's nice to being able to have a camp and actually game plan against a guy. And this is actually the second time we've been booked. So we've had a little even longer sort of training camp for a guy like Lerone Murphy. So we're excited for this fight, man. It's a great matchup.
So when you say second time, you mean second time with Lerone? That was back in February of 2024, right? Earlier this year, you guys were supposed to fight. That didn't happen. After the Diego Lopez fight, we thought that Dan would fight on the Sphere card. Was he upset that he wasn't on the card?
No, not at all. I mean, he's not upset about anything. These guys really took care of him. Dan stepped up and took the fight. I don't think there's any favors that need to be made or anything like that. But we were hoping that we can get on the Sphere card. It didn't work out, but here we are. We got a great matchup, and we got to go do our job on Saturday.
And just curious, because you have such a great mind when it comes to this stuff. Same weight class, title fight, main event. Who are you leaning towards, Topuria or Holloway?
Great fight, stylistic matchup. I think the boxing almost evens itself out. Here's the thing that we were talking about a little bit yesterday. When you watch Topuria and when he gets his finishes near the barrier. He's able to funnel guys to the corner post and the choke point of the cage, and that's when you see that big flurry. That's where he knocked out Damon Jackson. That's where he knocked out Jai Herbert. That's where he knocked out Volkanovski. So I think it's going to be more of a chess match of who can own the geography better. And if it's Topuria able to kind of have two separate game plans, how does he fight in the middle? And then what does he do when he gets Max Holloway to the barrier? That is the chess match to me between both fighters. Can Max keep it in the center? And if he does get pushed to the barrier, how does he react and counter-react to Topuria's pressure? So it's a matter of who wins the geography. That's my biggest thing in this fight.
Are you leaning towards someone?
God, you got to lean towards Max. That's just.
Wow! I thought you were going to say Topuria. I thought you were going to go with the young gun.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Volkanovski would win, and then Topuria went out there and just shelled him in the second round. I feel like Max is. I don't know, man. I just feel like I feel like Max is going to give him some problems. But you never know. This guy has proved me wrong time and time again. So
I can't wait. Can I just ask very quickly, Whitaker Chimaev? I'm fascinated by this. What's your read on that?
Man, I've trained with Khamzat quite a bit, and he's a special fighter. And I say that only because I've had him in the room, I've held pads for him, I've been around him, I've watched him train. He's very special, I think, when it comes to his feint game. And what he does with his feint game, he really ties together his strikes into his level change. Everybody's afraid of getting taken down by Khamzat, but it's more the way that he ties in his striking when he hits that up-down motion. So he's very good at that. I'm curious to see how Rob approaches this. Another guy who, Robert Whitaker, he's top 3 ever in the middleweight division, in my opinion. So stylistically, I'm looking forward to this chess match. Man, it's hard to say. I lean towards Khamzat if it's early rounds, but it being a 5-round fight, I think that's going to be kind of the key. Can Rob weather the storm and get this to go in 3, 4, and 5? And then how does Khamzat look in the deeper rounds, the later rounds?
Always a pleasure to pick your brain. Excuse me, Eric. It's always great. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on the win on Saturday. Good luck on Saturday with Danny Gay. Do you get to go home after this, or do you go somewhere else?
I don't know, bro. I don't even know if my wife and kids are going to be there when I get back. Who knows?
Well, good luck with that as well.
All right.
Thank you so much, Eric. All the best to you guys. Appreciate it very much.
My pleasure, brother. Always good to talk to you, Ariel.
There he is, the great Eric Nicksick of Extreme Couture. Great stuff, great insight as always. We are going to be joined by one Dan Hardy in about 5 minutes' time. He, of course, is a big part of what they are doing at the PFL, but I did want to update everyone on a story regarding a PFL fighter, a PFL featherweight prospect named Diane Silva. This is from a story written by our own Drake Riggs over at uncrowned.com. According to Drake in his reporting, she remains hospitalized in London following a failed weight cut for a scheduled Bellator bout more than a month ago. Bellator London featured a 9-fight lineup on September 14th. Silva's promotional debut came against fellow newcomer Ayman Almadouf. She was scheduled to be included on the card, but unfortunately, Silva was admitted to the ICU at London's Northwick Park Hospital on September 13th following a failed cut to 145 pounds. Mohegan Tribe Department of Athletic Regulation official and president of the ABC, the Association of Boxing Commissions, Mike Mazzulli, told Uncrowned he was asked to send a doctor to Silva's room 10 minutes before scale closure, 10:50 a.m. local time. The undefeated 3-0 fighter never weighed in, and the pre-fight medical staff never performed a pre-fight physical, Mazzulli said. Silva, who is 29 years old, is still being treated at Northwick after suffering kidney failure and being placed into a induced coma. She has never fought below 155 in her career. Here's a quote from Mike Mazzulli. I've checked on her and was informed she's doing much better, but this is the worst part of the fight game. I know I would have never let her lose any more weight if I saw her. In a statement provided to MMA Fighting, Silva's manager, Alex Davis, gave an update on her condition and what led to the coma. MMA Fighting reported that Silva is currently still sedated. Brazilian fighter and Silva's weight cut organizer, Luan Miao, has yet to respond to the complications. This is the quote from Alex Davis. As Diane made weight for her debut in Bellator, she suffered an accident due to dehydration. She was promptly seen by the doctor, was rushed to the hospital in a delicate condition, was admitted to intensive care. Her condition was serious, but since she has been improving steadily, and our hope is that she recovers fully. Myself, her team, her doctor, the hospital doctors, and Bellator have been working closely together in support with whatever is needed to help her recovery. We ask all to join us in our wishes and prayers that she recovers fully. As of right now, PFL officials have yet to speak on the matter, and so we're going to monitor this, and it's, as many have said, a horrendous, horrific, ugly, scary part of the fight game. We have seen some scary weight cuts over the years. We have seen some people on the scales. We have seen some people react very negatively to, to bad weight cuts, to tough weight cuts. We have yet to see in major MMA a tragedy, even anything of this kind. And so it is scary, and it's a reminder that this is no joke, that the fight before the fight to get to the scale is often tougher for some of these athletes than the fight itself. And so just want to wish her our best, and hope that she makes a speedy recovery, and hope that, this doesn't bring any long-term issues to her life. It's a horrible part of the fight game, and it seems like with so many fights, we continue to see some tough weight cuts each and every time out, some scenes that are just terrifying, and sometimes it feels like the fights should not continue, but it's a scary business, the fight business, and these things are unfortunately a huge part of it. In about an hour's time, we're going to be joined by Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker on some kind of roll these days at 155 pounds. He's coming off a hard-fought victory over Matthijs Gamrot. That was back in August on the Perth card in Australia. And there was once a time where it seemed like Hooker wasn't taking the right fights. He was kind of searching for that next big break. He was taking fights on short notice. He was taking the Islam fight on short notice, but he has put things together now. He has won his last 3 in a row. A solid win over Claudio Puelles back in November of 2022 here in New York City, and then had the win over Jalen Turner in 2023. International Fight Week, he got injured. He had to take a year off, came back in August, and had a massive win over Matthijs Gamrot. By far, in my opinion, his best opponent, best win in quite some time, probably since the Paul Felder Ally Quinta days. In any event, let us switch gears. We'll get to Hooker in about 30 minutes' time. For now, though, let us go to another individual who was there in Riyadh on Saturday, big part of PFL, big part of PFL Europe as well. The Outlaw, Dan Hardy, is here with us, and he is joining us from New York as he is helping his wife, Veronica, prepare for her next bout. Hello, Dan. How are you?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome back to America. How is Veronica doing? How are things going as you guys are preparing for her next fight?
Yeah, she's doing really well. You know, we were fortunate to get a couple of months out here before the fight was even offered to her to just kind of work on her overall technical game. And, you know, she's really progressed very quickly over the last few weeks. And then, you know, nipped back to England for a few weeks of sparring, and then we've been back out here for a week. So I'm excited for this one. I think she's going to show a new level to her game.
She continues to get better. She continues to evolve, and it's great to see. And obviously, you're a big part of that as well. You're a big part of what PFL is doing. You were great on the broadcast on Saturday. It was a big week for you guys. And I'm just wondering, overall, when you take like the sort of, you know, zoomed out look at the event, the production, how it all looked, how it all felt, as someone who is not just a part of the broadcast, but on the operations side, so to speak, how did you feel it all went down in Riyadh?
You know, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. You know, I think there are going to be a couple of fighters that will look back on their performances and be frustrated. You know, but aside from that, I thought overall the show was good. And I mean, honestly, all the way through fight week, and I'm sure that you were discussing this as well, there was real jeopardy with the Renan Ferreira opponent for Francis. And, you know, with the weight that he was carrying, which was quite obvious, even though he carried it so well, you've got to imagine the pain and the emotion that he was carrying with him, and trying to, you know, set to one side to remain focused. And then right at the end, obviously, with him to win so emphatically and then have that outpouring of emotion, you know, like all three of us, myself, Sean, and Randy cage side, we were just about holding it together. It was a real challenge. So, you know, it was a bit of a fairy tale ending really for Francis, and, you know, probably not the end of the Francis Ngannou movie, but certainly one of the highlights when we come back to watch it in a few years once it's been made.
What were you feeling? What were you thinking before the fight? How did you think it was going to go?
You know, I could just picture several different ways of it ending. You know, I thought it was going to be quite a tentative start, to be honest. You know, when I saw Francis working those body kicks, I actually said it on the broadcast. He was working body kicks against, you know, with Dewey Cooper on the body shield. And I thought to myself, you know, he might be thinking about a low kick game just to destabilize Renan Ferreira. But the real danger for Ngannou was kind of being overexcited and anxious and rushing in straight onto that right hand of Ferreira. I mean, that's what we saw Goltsov do. We saw Ryan Bader do the same thing. And I kind of thought to myself, you know, with the pressure, with the, you know, the time out of mixed martial arts and the excitement of, you know, let's get going. I thought Ngannou might pull the trigger too soon and run onto that, and not necessarily knock him out, but certainly put him in a bit of turmoil for a moment. But I thought he looked very clean. I thought his takedown was well timed. He drew on the feint and forced Renan Ferreira to throw that right hand, so he committed and was able to take him down easily. And what I will say is, you know, Ferreira's triangle attempt was very impressive. That really surprised me. So we can still see that he's developing as a fighter. You know, I still think his peak's ahead of him. But on the night, you know, Francis was the man.
I've done hours upon hours of shows since the fight, and I haven't brought up one thing that a lot of people keep hitting me up about. And so let me ask you, since you were there cage side, some were upset that the fight went a little too long, that Miragliotta should have stopped it sooner. Did Renan, in your opinion, take too much damage?
You know, I will say it's always difficult, isn't it? Because, you know, Dan's a solid referee. He refereed my UFC debut and, you know, was right in there when Akihiro Gono kneed me illegally in the side of the head. You know, I'll be honest, I don't remember the rest of the fight from that point, from that knee. And Dan did a good job of getting in there and protecting me in that moment. But, you know, I would say there were probably two punches that were a little bit too late for me. You know, it's just, especially when you see somebody that's kind of, they're in a position where they've buckled already. You know, like Ferreira, he was still on his knees, so it was difficult to judge what was going on in his face. But for me, the power in those punches and the way that his body moved for the last couple before he bellied out, that was the final. You know, as soon as someone bellies down, same with, you know, CB Dollaway when he had that fight against, was it Murtala Dali? Well, I butchered that name, but you remember the fight. As soon as you see a fighter belly down like that, it's immediately game over. I don't think there's Like, we should just get straight in there at that point. They were powerful punches. I will say that.
Oh my gosh, there's one clip of them like up close to the cage, and it just it's terrifying. The sounds, the ferocity, the power, the speed. It's all very, very impressive. And we saw in 3 minutes and 32 seconds, we saw like the complete game from Francis. And that's why it's been so long. It's been almost 3 years since we saw him in MMA. There's a part of me that understands if he wants to go back and box because of the paydays, because of the buzz and everything that comes with it, because of the challenge that comes with it. But there is a part of me that, as he's getting up there in age, I want to see him continue to evolve in MMA and see how much he can get better. Where are you leaning in terms of, like, if you were part of Team Francis, what would you like to see him do?
I mean, honestly, I would be open to the options. I think there are some really interesting boxing matches out there for him if that's what he decides to do. I saw, for whatever reason, the name Rico Verhoeven floating around today as well on social media. So
I brought that up.
Well, thank you for that, because that's got my brain spinning in lots of different directions.
You like it? You like it?
I think it would be fascinating. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would prefer to see Francis in mixed martial arts. I think that's where he's at his best, when he has his whole skill set at his disposal. But the reality is we need to try and find people who want to fight him. What I will say is we've got Goltsov v Popov coming up, and I think that's a very interesting one. We've also got Nemkov, who's a rather undersized heavyweight, but that's worked out for some good fighters in the past, and he's very technical. I think there are some interesting fights out there for him. I think the most important thing for Francis, if I'm his team, I'm going activity. Like, let's stay active. What is he, 38 now?
Yeah, just turned 38.
I think, and heavyweights do peak later. I'm sure you and I have had this conversation before. I think wisdom goes a lot further in the heavyweight division because, slightly less happens and the margin for error is, much greater. I feel like we've probably still got another 2 or 3 years of Francis being, really at his peak. And it doesn't mean to say that he couldn't fight into his 40s, absolutely, especially if he keeps himself healthy. But certainly over the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to get the best years of him, I think.
If it's MMA, I like the Nemkov fight the best. If it's boxing, I guess Deontay Wilder, even though he's somewhat of a shell of his former self, that's just kind of a fun fight. But I brought up Rico because it's like the king of kickboxing, the king of MMA, and then they meet in boxing, neutral ground. Glory, your old friend Marshall Zlaznik, they're interested. They've hit us up. Rico hit me up as well. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I should take 5% or 10%. I'm still trying to figure that out. But there's something, I don't know. I'm intrigued by it. And they've trained together in the past too.
Yeah, interesting. I'm always open to heavyweights. They can come out of nowhere, right? All of a sudden there's a guy on the scene that you've never heard of before. I mean, for a lot of people, Tom Aspinall did that, right?
Yeah.
We've got to keep our eyes open. And, with what Alex Pereira's done in mixed martial arts, with very little experience in the sport, heavyweight is a very, very unique weight class, I think. And anything's possible. People can come out of nowhere. So I'm always open to options.
Your mate, Pete Carroll, keeps trying to push the Phil DeFries Francis Ngannou fight. Do you have interest in this?
Absolutely. Phil is another formidable heavyweight. I think it's been several years since he's been beaten. Absolutely would be a very interesting one.
Okay, speaking of Pete, he was the first person to ever tell me about Paul Hughes. He's been talking about Paul Hughes for quite some time. You guys had a great chat on his show last week, and he wrote a great story about Paul. And correct me if I've gotten this story wrong. When the idea of Paul fighting AJ McKee was first brought to your attention, was there any part of you that was like, is this a little too soon for Paul? Is that accurate? And if it is accurate, now what do you think about how he did on Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. I did. The Global Fighter Ops team handled all the pay-per-view matchmaking and stuff. And I remember when I first saw that match on the card, my heart jumped for a little bit because obviously I've followed Paul Hughes' career up until this point quite closely. And, I was a big advocate for us getting him on the roster. And I just kind of felt like, it was, AJ McKee is such a dangerous opponent, right? He's been fighting at such an elite level for so long, and I was wondering honestly, and I completely underestimated Paul. He absolutely leveled up. He proved me wrong as well as a lot of others. I was more anxious for him than doubting. Like, I know he's got the skills to do it because I've seen him utilize those skills, but there's a difference between applying them against everybody that he'd fought up to that point and applying them against AJ McKee. And the last time I remember see AJ McKee in Riyadh, he went through Clay Collard much, much quicker than I was expecting. And I have a lot of respect for Clay Collard and his toughness and wisdom and durability. So I definitely thought it was a jump up, and I was very, very impressed. For me, and I said this before, it was a career-defining performance. Like, he leveled up to a point where, you know, he didn't even look like the fighter that we saw in Dublin. I thought he was a very different fighter entirely.
And so with that in mind, I know he signed up to be a part of the tournament, but I would love to see that Usman fight. And there's a part of me 6 months ago that said, you know, when he was hinting at it, but now I feel like it would be tremendous. Do you think there's a chance we get that before he goes into the tournament?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the best thing for him to do right now is to ride the crest of this wave, the momentum that he's on, the performance that he put in against AJ McKee. You and I know this very well. Momentum is a lot in mixed martial arts because it feeds into confidence. Confidence is a big part of someone having an effective performance. And I feel like, you know, now's the time for him to really put his foot on the gas and see what he's capable of. Like, he might be way more capable than any of us are giving him credit for him, including himself. But it's going to be someone like Nurmagomedov that he's going to really push him and take him to that level. I mean, honestly, I thought AJ McKee was going to be able to do that, but because he didn't, let's level up again. You know, let's see where he goes next. And you know, and if it is a step too far, then there are still plenty of other options for him because he's still under 15 fights in his career. You know, there's still a lot of time ahead of him. But absolutely, right now, I don't think any of us can underestimate him anymore.
How would you assess Johnny Eblen? I feel like a little over a year ago, we were having the discussion, is he the best middleweight, or could he beat the UFC's middleweight champion? And truth be told, I feel like some of that talk has cooled off a little bit. I think it's always tough when a champion has to fight a challenger twice and he's coming off a win over him and then do it again a year later. He has to kind of figure out a new way to figure out the puzzle. The other guy just has to try to beat the guy who we've seen as champion for the last few fights. Now that you've seen him again against Fabian, how would you assess where he's at and in particular his performance on Saturday?
Well, I mean, you know, certainly the first 20 minutes of the fight were very, very impressive. You know, it wasn't until the last round where I felt like, you know, Eblen's efforts up to that point had started to, you know, take a toll on his conditioning. And obviously Fabian probably felt like he was, you know, 4 rounds down and needed to do something special. Honestly, I think he's got all the skills to beat any middleweight on the planet. I really do. I think the only thing that he really lacks, and it was kind of interesting because I did a face-off with them earlier in the week. You know, Fabian and Eblen sat across the table, and you know, sometimes they can get quite fiery. Like, I remember doing the Darren Till Masvidal one a few years ago, and you know, the Lewis McGrill and Dean Garnett one was really, really fun as well. And both of these guys, they were quite, you know, they're quite analytical, they're quite sensible, they're quite logical, they're quite respectful of one another. And it, you know, it's not that that's a bad thing necessarily, but I think certainly in the modern day, people respond to confidence and sometimes bravado. And I think that's maybe the thing. Like, if Eblen was going, I'm the best middleweight on the planet, and I dare you to try and prove me wrong, I think a lot of other people would start to echo that sentiment. And I think it's his willingness to kind of go, you know, to put himself among the best middleweights on the planet. I mean, that, you know, the performance against Fabian was dominant. You know, Fabian showed really good takedown defense in the first fight, and Eblen solved that problem. He dominated for 20 minutes. I think that's the next thing that he needs. He needs to be able to start saying to people, I'm the man, and prove me wrong.
Do you fancy his chances against the best in the UFC, the DDPs of the world, the Stricklands of the world?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I know he's good friends with Strickland, so he never seems to like to, you know, to talk about where they compare with one another, but he certainly puts himself on a level with Strickland. Now, the reality is anyone that's got wrestling like Eblen is going to be problematic. And it gives him confidence to strike. I think because he had to lean into his striking more against Fabian, I think he's grown in confidence there as well. I just think, honestly, I think he needs to make the statement for himself, and people will start to believe him. Because, you know, you name any middleweight on any roster, I think Eblen's got a damn good chance of dragging him into deep water and either knocking him out or just, you know, just mauling them until the final bell.
What about Chris Cyborg making her debut almost 20 years ago and still doing this, winning her 5th promotional belt and having to dig down deep, right? She gets the cut. Pacheco is a freaking beast, taking her best shots. I was thoroughly impressed. And I didn't think it was a hard fight to score in the end. I thought she won off the top of my head now. I think it was maybe 3-2 or 4-1, but I was just blown away, especially when she hasn't been as active in MMA these days. I was blown away by the performance. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of people were looking past Larissa Pacheco coming into this one, much like they were Henan Fajeda. The people that have been watching Pacheco realize how dangerous she is. I mean, she's very powerful. She's very well-rounded. And, with Cyborg, I mean, she's such a tough, durable fighter. She's very much in the pocket. She takes a lot of risks. She really opens herself up in her game, and that's one of the reasons why she's got such a big fan base. The thing that was most impressive, I think, was coming through that adversity. There are a lot of fighters, especially with the reputation of Cyborg, even if she comes out of those rounds with more damage than her opponent, but she's still dominated. I mean, I agree with you. I thought Cyborg. I remember on the night, I was thinking to myself, I feel like Cyborg's taken the 1st and 2nd. Then I was feeling like Larissa Pacheco had taken the 3rd and 4th, just purely because she landed some better shots. And I felt like she came off better in some of those exchanges. I mean, if I watched it back, I may see it slightly differently, but that was certainly my feeling sitting cage side at the time, potentially going into the 3rd round, into the 5th round completely even. And Cyborg was the one that was bloodied, bleeding over and cut over both eyes. I thought that the corner team did a great job to keep her in the fight as well, because, one of those in particular was in a very bad spot. And I just think she showed her championship quality. But I also think, if we look at the fight realistically, in 12 months' time, it could have gone the opposite way. I think Larissa Pacheco is certainly on the rise, and I think she's definitely the person to take Cyborg's place when, Cyborg does eventually step aside.
When did you start with PFL? How long ago was it?
That's a good question. End of 2022, I think.
Okay, so end of 2022. So it's is my math correct? Like a little over a year to almost 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. How's it going? How are you enjoying this?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I mean, every day. The thing I've realized about myself, honestly, is obviously when I was just doing the commentary and analysis, I was focused on, this is the next fight card. These are the block of fighters that I've got to focus on. Whereas now, obviously, I'm doing a few different things, and I'm on a fighter ops call, and then I'm on a PFL Europe team call about the next event coming up, and I'm just having to switch gears and change is a very interesting challenge for me. I'm enjoying it because I'm getting to work with a lot of different people, and people in different specialties that I'm learning from. And also meeting cool people as well. Like I met Ray Lewis this weekend. Was awesome. I mean, that guy. I said it to the guys before we started broadcasting. I used to listen to his team speeches before like hard conditioning sessions or sparring sessions just to get me fired up. And then sat next to Greg Rosetsky on the plane on the way back to Doha, and we literally just talked for an hour. He was fascinating, really interesting guy. So these are the opportunities I'm really enjoying, and it's challenging me. I feel like I'm growing, and that's always a positive thing.
As far as the challenges, like what new role or what new part of your role do you enjoy the most?
Certainly trying to manage the roster and balance the right talent on the roster and keep them active. That's the thing I'm enjoying the most, because there are so many good fighters out there. What I really want to do is build PFL Europe, certainly, which is the piece that I'm working at the moment. Build it into a broader and more stable platform, because there are so many fighters across Europe that need activity. And unfortunately, there's just not enough shows. There are shows that pop up and spend a bunch of cash and then they disappear, or there are other shows that are consistent but they don't really pay anything. And it's a challenge to kind of find that right balance. And some fighters' expectations are really difficult to manage as well, because they see what such and such is making and how much they're getting from this and that, and and it's difficult because not all fighters resonate with the fans in the same way. So managing expectations of fighters is a new challenge for me as well.
Oh man.
But at the same time, it's good because I can see a difference I can make in a lot of these young fighters' careers, creating opportunities for them. And and making the right matchup so everyone's got a fair shout. That's really what it's about. I want everyone to look at one of my PFL Europe cards and go, you know what? There's not a single fighter on that card that is not fully capable of winning their fight in front of them. And I pride myself in that kind of matchmaking.
So you're so busy these days because you're at the events, you're putting together events, you're calling fights, you're coaching Veronica. Are we going to get a 308 breakdown from you or too busy for that one on the YouTube channel?
I've been very, very disappointed in myself. I've just not had the time. The Raptors are off doing other things as well now. James Mystery's doing awesome work. Jamie Allsop's off doing other things. Got a cool job, and so I'm kind of, when I start doing that stuff back, I'm going to be doing it on my phone. It's going to be a little bit more rough and ready. I do want to get back to doing it, but I've just been so very busy at the moment. I might try and get something up before the weekend. Obviously the fights this weekend are fascinating, and then 309. What will be the I think we're first fight of the night, so we'll be having pizza and celebrations in our as the main event starting. So I'll try and get something out for those big fights, but it's been challenging at the moment with the amount of things in the schedule.
Have you ever been to MSG?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I have. I've been when I fought GSP, they took me to MSG to watch a basketball game.
Okay.
And to do some kind of promotional stuff. And then we saw Dave Chappelle there a few months ago, which was awesome. And we're going to go and catch maybe a Rangers game before the event, just to kind of get inside there again and do some visualization. But it's exciting to be on that card. Murder Scene Garden, as I've been calling it.
Oh, I love that. But so never to see a fight though.
No. But the BMF belt was there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there for that.
Okay.
How could I forget? Yeah, I was there for that. In fact, I was crouched down right where Masvidal walked out. I've got a cool video on my phone that I'll have to post at some point.
When you say the visualization, what do you like? What are you referring to? What happens there?
It's being in the space. I used to do this as much as I could, wherever I went. It's just very healthy, I think, to try and put yourself in that anxious feeling of fight night, to be the center of attention in a space as big and as grand and as special as Madison Square Garden. The occasion's not at all lost on Veronica. She knows how much of an honor it is to be there, and also how important it is for her to represent, given the fact that we're a street over from Henzo's. And Henzo Gracie's been so awesome with us, opening up his doors, and the whole team there have been very accommodating and helpful. So, we want to represent them well as well. And it's, just to kind of be in fight week and just rehearse the feeling of anxiety and make it as familiar as possible. So we're operating in a space where we're uncomfortable and we're functioning as highly as we can. We sparred yesterday, Veronica and I, and we did 12 5-minute rounds, and she's vibrating at a level that I've never seen her before. She's so sharp. Her reaction time is very quick. She's fluid with her combinations now, and of course with this time spent on the mats in the blue basement, she's leveled up tremendously with her grappling. She's got a tough opponent. She's going to be very, very game, Eduardo Mora. But I fully expect Veronica to be able to finish this fight in any direction, or at least, dominate and outpoint this tough opponent to the final bell.
You're sparring with her 12 5-minute rounds?
Yeah, obviously, I'm a bit slower, and but I make up for it with pressure and with my reach.
That's incredible. 12 5-minute rounds is a lot of rounds.
It is. Mainly I'm getting my ass kicked, if I'm honest. But I like to keep moving. I've still got about 10 pounds to lose anyway. I'm bringing my weight back down again. Especially in this warm weather, I'm no good at being any heavier than about 200 pounds.
By the way, Meshuggah, what is that?
Meshuggah, they're a Swedish metal band.
Oh, okay.
I've been listening to them relentlessly recently, so I feel like it's going to be a heavy metal winter. Like, my musical tastes change and shift as the seasons change, and I'm in my typo negative October rust phase right now.
Sure.
And I feel like as the weather gets colder, the heavier metal starts. I might even throw in some Madball and Sick of It All, given the fact that I'm in New York. Shout out the New York hardcore scene.
Yeah, all that went over my head. I don't know who any of those people are, but in Hebrew, Meshuggah means crazy. That's a Hebrew word. Did you know that?
Is that right? I was wondering if you were going to be able to tell me what it was.
I thought maybe you were wearing it for me. I don't know. That's. I didn't even know there was a band named Meshuggah. That means like crazy in Hebrew.
I mean, is it fitting? I'm wearing the appropriate sign on my chest. Is that what you're saying? Aaron?
No, I don't know. Or I don't know if you're trying to tell us something. Or are they a crazy band? Is that why?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely, they are. I mean, if you've never heard of Meshuggah before, make sure you check them out on YouTube. There's an incredible live show that they did in Donington, which is not too far away from where I live in the UK, and it is them playing their most recent album, which is just a masterpiece. I mean, it's a symphony of heavy metal. It's very, very unusual. It keeps an unusual rhythm. So it's not like you can't, smash your head to it because it's quite complex, but it's fantastic.
All right. I will check them out. I always appreciate your music recommendations. Can I get a small taste? I know you said you might do it, but Topuria Holloway, what are you thinking?
I think it's going to be a very tough couple of rounds for Max Holloway. I feel like Topuria is going to come in and he's going to try and pressure Max, especially because we know Max kind of warms into those first couple of rounds. He tends to throw a few shots and miss and get his reads, and it's third, fourth, and fifth where Max really starts to put it on people. I feel like those first couple of rounds, as long as Max can get through them all right, is going to be tough. The big overhands of Topuria when Max is up against the fence, as well as the neck attacks, of course, they're going to be incredibly dangerous. But I do feel like Max can see himself through those rounds. It wouldn't surprise me if his jab starts to kind of break down the nose a little bit of Topuria and make him uncomfortable. I don't know. I was daydreaming about it today, and I thought to myself, I could see Max surviving a couple of rounds and starting to get to him, bloody him up a little bit, and then, maybe knock him down and get one of those guillotines like he did against Cub Swanson. One of my favorite finishes by him, little wrap guillotine, stepped over into mount. I could see something like that happening. My only concern on this, obviously, is the weight of Max. I feel like he's better at 55 now. But that's to be seen. We'll see what he looks like on the scales. If he's got the cheekbones appropriate for Halloween, then I won't be feeling as good about it.
I'm starting to see those in some of the media already. You see it on his face. I don't know if you've seen him, but he is looking slightly gaunt.
It's not good, is it? It's the thriller look, as you might call it. I don't know. I feel like weight cutting is it's getting to the stage now where I think people need to realize that it affects your performance. This is why people always comment about Veronica being undersized for flyweight, but the reality is we've got the statistics. We train with Paul Reed regularly, who obviously works with Paddy and Molly, and we've got the statistics to back it up. She's in the right weight class. She's elite level when it comes to powerlifting. And, we just need fighters to realize that they want to be performing at their best. And, I feel like Max, especially fighters later in their career, like Tony Ferguson may have left it a little bit too late to move up to welterweight as well. I think the danger is that they feel like that this is their weight class, this is where they belong. And I think ultimately, eventually, your body grows to a point where you're better performing at a slightly higher weight class. So, I think if the matchmaking was better with those guys that do move up, we could get more fights out of these guys and enjoy them for a bit long. I keep talking about the Masters division. At some point, hopefully, I think we'll see it.
Okay, one last one. Khamzat Whitaker.
I wonder where Khamzat's at. I don't know whether he's 100% still. That's my concern. I know he's been experiencing a lot of health issues, and I know that can affect your training, especially because when you're training a lot, your body's producing free radicals. They're attacking your immune system, and if he's not 100%, then training is just generally going to be a bit of a drag for him. And we know how durable Whitaker is. He's a very wise individual. He's got great takedown defense. Again, it's probably going to be a rough round for Whitaker, but I do feel like if he's able to get to the end of that first round and Chimaev's not, choking him out or pinning him and ground and pounding him, I think we can start to see Whitaker start to take over in the next rounds. But I'm hopeful that we're going to see a healthy Chimaev because, he's a scary, scary individual. And I think if, we might always be talking a little bit like Magomed Sharapov. We might always be looking at him at some point thinking to ourselves, we never really saw the best of him, right? Like Magomed Sharapov, another fighter I feel like could have moved up to lightweight and been very, very impressive. He had the frame to carry it. but I just think he was limited to 3 rounds when he was cut into featherweight. But yeah, a very, very interesting fight. I think if we get Chimaev at 100%, he's going to be ferocious for a round and a half. And I think if Whittaker can get through that with his wisdom and his takedown defense, then he'll start to take over.
You're a gent, Dan. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on. Congrats on a great event. And you probably were watching, but congrats on the big win, Nottingham Forest yesterday. I'm sure you guys were watching. You were locked in over Crystal Palace. Yeah?
I was getting photograph updates from my father. He was there at the Trent End taking photographs and sending them to me.
One day I would like to say hello to him there in person at the City Ground. That's a goal of mine. So yes, it's an exciting time. Appreciate you very much, and good luck in the last few weeks of training for Veronica's fight at MSG. Delighted for you guys. What an opportunity, and wishing her the best as well.
Thank you, man. We appreciate. We're very, very fortunate, and it's always a pleasure talking to you, my friend.
Thank you. Same here. There he is, the outlaw, Dan Hardy, the man. He is one of the smartest men when it comes to breaking down fights and doing big things for PFL as well. So very much looking forward to Veronica Hardy's. He's got Veronica Hardy, his wife, who he's helping, obviously coaching her and preparing for fights. He's doing the operational stuff. He's doing the TV stuff. He's got the YouTube channel. He's a man of many talents, and it's always great to check in with him. It is always great to check in with the Hangman. We have him here. I don't know if he knows this. We have him right here. He's right here. And he's kind enough to wake up early in Auckland to join us, coming off that huge win over Mateusz Gamrot. He's been all over the place. Let us go and say hello to Dan Hooker, who is joining us early in Auckland, but he's on his way. Where are we off to, Dan?
I'm on my way to the gym, my friend. I've had enough of traveling. I've had enough of planes. I've had enough of different countries. It's time to do some work, mate.
Hell yeah. By the way, did you know that we have you in the studio here, in our new studio? Have you seen this?
I did know that. The boys picked that out and sent me the picture of that there and there. Made me proud, my friend.
Okay, we were showing love. Well, great to talk to you, Dan. And I haven't. We've been off for a little bit, so I didn't get a chance to talk to you after the Gamrot fight. What a performance that was! What a scene! You were so fired up afterwards. I think it was the power of the tattoos that really prevailed you to the top there. Propelled you, I should say. Your thoughts now, 2 months later, on the fight and performance? I thought it was one of your best.
Yeah, obviously. I didn't think I performed that well, but got the result. I said it to my coach after my coach Tuss, because he didn't look that impressed when I got out of the cage. But I said, not bad. I said, not. I just went like this, and I just shrugged and said, not bad for an off night. And then he agreed with, once I said that, he agreed with that, not bad for an off night. So we'll take that. I'll take that.
But, off night against a guy like that who's top 5, top 6, to get the win, and deservedly so, I think very impressive. What were you not happy about?
Just that had to bite down and I feel like I just rushed it a bit much. I feel like the stuff I worked on should have been a lot cleaner, but kind of just had to had the wrong tool, but just had to force it. Had to just make it work. You know what I mean? Had to just make it work because he's such a tricky guy. Gamrot does such a good job of slowing down the fight, so I just had to kind of stay on his face and pressure him like that.
We've talked about your maturation, about trusting other people, about taking smart fights, about not rushing into things. It feels like it's all coming together for you now. It feels like the confidence is there, that you're making the right moves. You obviously had to sit out for a year there to recover, but I feel like it's all coming together for you. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I definitely feel the same. That's the kind of the position that I'm in now, is just don't do anything dumb. When I was a bit younger and in the same position, worked so hard to get myself to the top 5, and really all I needed to do was rest and let the right fight come across the table at the right time, and I didn't when I was younger. I just rushed straight back into another fight. That was when I took the Chandler fight off of putting back-to-back 5-round wars. I had a 5-round war with Felder, I had a 5-round war with Poirier, and then I just rushed it to get back in. And yeah, it's not rocket science. You can't put 50 minutes of hard fighting in 6 months and then expect your body to bounce back like that. So it's just comes with those lessons come with experience.
Speaking of doing dumb things, was there any part of you when you were in Marbella cornering Oscar Willis for his fight, his BKFC fight against Ben Davis, saying, I want some of this? At some point, I need to partake in bare knuckle fighting.
Oh, I can't say there wasn't I can't I can't lie to you, my friend. And I cannot say that my knuckles are not getting itchy for that there. That looks like some fun. That I would do for fun. That's not even I don't think there's much of a question whether or not I would do bare knuckle fighting, but that's my retirement fund there.
Because there's a lot of MMA fighters who say that's too much for me, but it seems like it's right up your alley.
Yeah, I appreciate the art involved in it. You know what I mean? It looks quite brutal, but there's quite a lot of skill involved, and yeah, I just think that my understanding of it and the way that I fight as well, because yeah, it's one of those things like you're going to get hit, you're going to get cut, and there's it kind of removes that athlete out of the fight, and it's just like the guys that truly want to get in there and fight and make it ugly are the ones that find quite a lot of success in bare knuckle.
In the post-fight interview after Gamrot, you said, I want it all, I want everything, I want all the big names, I want Conor McGregor. Everyone says that. But bare knuckle, night of, someone's asking him, who's next? He says February 1st, Dan Hooker. Then when I started asking...
Yeah,
I started asking around and I was like, what's going on here? So I'd love to ask you, what is going on here?
Yeah, we kind of snuck our way into the ring. I
love it.
Snuck past a few security guards and just kind of danced our way into the ring. And next thing we're in the ring, cracking a few forged stouts with the champ, having a few drinks, having a few beers, and having a bit of a chinwag. So, I was hanging out with... a lot of his friends and stuff like that week, and we seem to get on quite well. And yeah, like it's a fight that makes a lot of sense for him, makes a lot of sense for me, and we're obviously both keen on the fight. It's just I don't know what's going on with him behind the scenes. I don't know what's going on with him and the UFC and their relationship. So that's all I can see. And people since that rumor started going around, people were going, oh, like don't wait. Don't be another Michael Chandler. Like, that's not the plan. I'm fighting early next year. I told the UFC either January or March, and it'll be someone in the top 5 or Conor McGregor. That'll be who I'll be stepping inside the cage with come January or March next year.
Since he said that, has there been any movement on making the Conor fight?
Oh, I know Ash, my manager's in... He's in Saudi. He's with Volk in Saudi, so he'll get to talk to Hunter. He'll get to talk to Sean. So I'm sure by the end of this weekend, or where he comes back from Saudi Arabia, I'll have my next fight penciled in.
Okay.
I'd say I'll have a name and a date by the end of this weekend.
There are some who think Conor never fights again. There are some, like myself, who think he does fight again. Where do you fall in this discussion? You were there with him. You got a sense for him. Where do you fall?
Oh, we all like money, brother. And when you're getting as much, as he's getting, a little cash injection of 20, 30 million, I'm sure there'd be not many men on the face of the earth that could turn that down. He's obviously, still like fit and training and stuff like that. So, the heart of a fighter just keeps ticking, keeps itching. It just comes down for him to fights that make a lot of sense, I guess. And if they make a lot of money, they make a lot of sense.
Obviously, he's the biggest name available to anyone. But like you said, you want to fight January, March. I think it's because you're expecting another child, right? In February?
Yeah. Oh, he's got another got another baby dropping in February. So I've told the Ash, I told my manager Ash, who's told the UFC that cannot do the Sydney card there in February. Boys, you're on your own.
Congratulations to you and your missus. By the way, do you know the sex?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm allowed to.
Okay, don't say it. I don't want to get you in trouble. I didn't know. Some people announce it before, but don't say it. That's great. I hope everything goes. I don't want. I don't want the heat.
Tell you about.
No, I don't want you to get in trouble. Keep that to yourself.
I might get in trouble.
Yeah, leave it.
It's nothing new, Cobb. I'm the king of the dog box.
So if it's not Conor, who do you fancy? Is there someone out there that makes sense in January or March?
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of the guys in the top 5. That's the funny thing about it. My position is I've had a lot of the guys in the top 5 say my name.
Yeah.
Arman mentioned it for an interim title. Gagey mentioned my name. Poirier obviously mentioned my name. And yeah, I'm obviously keen on any of those fights. Arman's booked for the belt. Dustin, I don't know. Well, he laid his gloves down in his last fight, and then he's coming out and he's saying like he'd do another one, but as like a retirement fight. I don't know. I'm not really interested in kicking someone on the way out the door. It'd be, but KG, that's obviously, that's a fight fan's dream. That right there, that's someone new. That's something that the fans have wanted to see for a very long time, and finally it kind of makes sense.
So Poirier told us last week he wants to retire in Louisiana, but that would probably be back end of 2025, which means he might have to get another one in between. And so if he did fight you in January or March, that probably wouldn't be the retirement fight. Does that change your opinion on it at all?
Well, he's got the door half closed. I don't know. Obviously, I'll take the fight. Obviously, he's a huge name. Obviously, he's ranked ahead of me, and obviously, he kicked my ass, so I want that back. Like, I would fight. I would fight someone for any one of those reasons, for the money, for the ranking, and because they kicked my ass, and he did all three. So of course, I want that fight back.
Can I tell you the one that is fascinating to me? It's you and Renato Moicano. You guys have an interesting thing going on. He keeps comparing you to a turtle in a tree, and you guys have gone back and forth a little bit. What do you think about a potential?
Yeah, like funny when he's blaming and trying to say that someone put him in the tree. The only person that's to blame for me being in the top 5 is Moicano. Because he turned me down, he ducked me in Perth, so I skated right past him and I fought the number 5 and I beat him. He could have fought me in Perth. His excuse was taxes, so he pissed off to France and paid the exact same amount of taxes that he would have paid in Perth. He took an easier fight, a fight that he thought he could skate by, and it didn't work out for him. He got the win and he didn't go absolutely anywhere. So he in a sport of risk versus reward, he took the easy path and now he's nowhere. You know what I mean? And looking back and thinking that I'm going to take the Moicano fight when I've had 3 of the guys in the top 5 say my name in the last couple of months would be, as we were saying earlier, the only thing I have to do right now is not do anything dumb. And that would be something dumb. Like, would I want to fight him? Of course. I've been wanting to fight that guy for years. But right now, it looks like that would be looking in the rear vision mirror.
Wow. So I didn't know that. So that was on the table for Perth, and he said thanks but no thanks, and they put him against...
I call you know how it works. Like, he's saying that he was never actually offered that fight. We know how it works, brother. You have to... both fighters have to show some kind of interest on social media before the UFC will offer you a fight. He shut it down. When he said that, I called him out for Perth, and he said, no, taxes are too high. Taxes are too high. It's the same tax rate, you dumb fuck.
What do you think of his performance against Benoit?
Benoit's not, I said that leading into the fight, Benoit's not top 10, top 15 caliber. Like, the guy's athletic, he's tough, he's strong. But, his biggest win before that Poirier fight was Matt Frivola. And then, yeah, he kind of got gassed up to fight Poirier. He got thrown in the deep end against Poirier. And, yeah, I said that's the coolest thing he's ever done is got knocked out by Dustin Poirier. So I expected that result. Like, Moicano is a solid fighter. He has strong grappling and a solid game. I expected him to get play BSD like that.
So just looking at the landscape, it feels like the one that makes the most sense and interests you the most is Justin Gaethje, because Arman and Islam are fighting, and Oliveira and Chandler are fighting. That's the guy right there, right? That's the one that I think interests you the most.
That's the one that I'd say that's the one that gets me out of bed, Cobb. That's the one that puts a warm feeling in my heart.
I love it. I love it. By the way, speaking of which, are we done with the tattoos? Have we put a stop to it, or is there...
people forget that I was injured. I couldn't train. I broke my hand, then I broke my arm, then I broke my arm again. So I had 3 broken bones in a row, and they were telling me don't even go for a run. They were like, don't run, don't move, don't lift any weights. So I was out injured for a very long time. So I haven't been injured. So I've been skating all around the world. I went to Vegas, watched the Sphere card, went to another show in Tahiti, TFC. That was an incredible event to support my friend. And then I went over to Spain for BKFC. So I've been traveling to all fight shows all around the world. It's no time to draw on myself, mate.
By the way, did you get tickets to the Sphere card? Because I remember 300... it was kind of a controversy where you weren't getting tickets. So did they hook you up this time? I put in a words. I just wanted to know if it went through.
Nah, Ash bought them for me, mate.
Come on, Ash bought them for you. Are you serious? We need to rectify. Are you serious right now? You should be sitting in the front. You're one of the top stars in the game.
Yeah, well, that's when I saw bloody Justin Gaethje down there and Michael Chandler down there, and I was going, all right. I have to kick one of these guys' asses for some bloody tickets, I think.
Yeah, the respect is coming. I feel like it's coming. It's right around the corner. What do you think of Chandler taking that?
It's coming, mate. It's coming. You can give it to me, or I'll take it.
No, I think you're taking it right now.
I'm coming for
it. Chandler Oliveira, are you surprised Chandler took the fight, or did he have no choice?
Yeah, I think he had no. I think he had no real choice. I think he got told that maybe Conor's not fighting for a while, and that's like a big opportunity for him as well. You know, they've obviously come to him and told him that that's a title eliminator, and the next guy that wins that fight will be fighting for the title. But tough fight, tough fight. Going straight to Charles Oliveira rematch is that'll be a tough ask.
I could see a world, Dan, you win this next fight in early 2025, you get another one, you win that. I could see a world back end of 2025, all of a sudden you're fighting for the belt, or all of a sudden you're right there. What a difference. What's that?
Wouldn't that be funny, my friend? What a world we live in.
I don't know about funny. It's just a great story.
What a world we live in, where an average man can bite down on his mouthpiece and then one day fight for a world title.
Do you agree with me? Do you see that path now?
Yeah, I think I'm like one fight and someone twisting their ankle of fighting for a world title. Like even anyone in any division in the top 5 you're in shooting distance. You're in shooting distance for the belt. Someone doesn't want to fight. Someone gets sick. Someone breaks a nail. Then you're next in line fighting for a title. So it is very close to becoming a reality.
Was there a point where you thought it was never going to be a reality?
I'm just like I'm a pretty practical guy. Like I eat on my plate. I eat what's on my plate. I never get carried away. Never get too carried away. But like it makes sense. Like it's not really. You can't tell me that it's never going to happen when you're sitting one fight away from a belt. That's that's just I'll refuse to believe that.
By the way, that year that you were talking about where you had to ink yourself up, what did you do to spend, like these days where you go to the gym so early in the morning, they're telling you not to run. How did you not go crazy? Like, what did you do to release those endorphins?
I drew on half my body. Nah, it's because it's kind of like the same rush. Like it does suck, it does hurt. It's like going to the gym and training your ass off. So you go there and you have to like stay composed all day. You get drawn on, getting in pain, and yeah, it's kind of like the same kind of rush, I guess. So you're just replacing one fix with another.
Okay, but does it release the same type of feeling inside, the same type of endorphins?
No, it hurts. It just sucks. I don't. People think I like getting tattooed. I'm actually. Ask me, Mrs. She thinks I'm actually quite horrible at it.
Meaning the way you deal with it?
Yeah, I think she's the one that has to hear you come home and sulk and complain about it. So
Yeah. By the way, could I ask your teammate Kai Car-France not getting the title shot and it going to? He said it went to the wrong Kai. What was your reaction to that?
Oh yeah, we'll see how things go. Oh, like obviously they're trying to get some new injection into the top of that division. I feel like he's still in play for a title shot come next year. He's called it for the that Sydney card there in February. I could see a flyweight title or whoever gets Pantoja or the new Kai number 2, whoever get the win there, having to turn around and double back and defend that belt against Kai Car-France at the Sydney card in February.
Okay, and no BMF title on the line this weekend, but you've been talked about for like a sort of makeshift BMF tournament. The BMF champ is fighting Max Holloway. What do you think of his chances on Saturday against Topuria? You like Topuria? Is he your kind of guy?
Yeah, like, oh mate, if I was that undefeated and I'd be walking around saying the wildest shit, I reckon. I don't I get a couple wins under me belt. And I start getting pretty lippy. But imagine if I was buddy 20-0, the world wouldn't be ready for it. I'd be walking around like Superman.
So what do you think of this matchup for him?
Oh, I think it's like a 50-50. I like his style. Like he's very good at what he does. Very simplified game. Very good fundamentals. Max is obviously has a lot of tools. He's obviously capable of a lot more. I think if he can keep the fight at kicking range, he has a pretty solid chance. I'd say the experience will be on kind of Max's side. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to that one.
By the way, how long is this commute to the gym?
Mate, this is Auckland, brother. You spend half your life in traffic.
Oh, really?
If this gym wasn't in this city, the day I retire, I'm right out of here, brother.
Where are you going? Where's the dream?
Where am I going? I'm going to be a man of the world. I'll be traveling all around the place, Scott.
Like, didn't Brad Riddell do something like that, where he like got in his van and just traveling all over the place?
He sure did. Yeah, that's why he's living over in Thailand now. That's the gypsies. Phuket, Thailand is a gypsy's dream, my friend.
Of the few places left on my bucket list, if you will, Auckland, New Zealand is one of them. I've always wanted to go there.
You have to come down to Auckland and then get out of Auckland, and then we'll show you some incredibly beautiful places on the countryside of New Zealand.
Okay, so New Zealand you're cool with, but you think Auckland shouldn't be at the top of the list?
Nah, it's just like another big city. It's like going to Sydney or going, it's just a big city. But once you get out to the smaller towns and the rural parts of New Zealand, it's some of the most beautiful country in the world, I believe.
I don't have to say it to you, but it's just so bloody far. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, it
is so bloody far. There's a blessing and a curse. If the world starts falling to bits and bombs start going off, I feel quite comfortable. I feel quite comfortable down here in the corner of the world. I feel quite safe.
Okay. All right. Well, that is good to know. Well, thank you for joining us. How much longer you have on the commute? I could see it in your
5 minutes. Nah, we're just around the corner. I don't have too far to go.
I could see it in your glasses, by the way. You're still on the highway.
Yeah, I am.
Are you driving or is someone driving you?
Nah, someone's driving me, mate. Don't try to get me a ticket.
No. I was just trying to confirm that in case because people were saying it in the chat. So I just wanted because I see the other person, I see their hand on the steering wheel. So I was just putting that out there. So all is good. You're doing well. You're feeling good. You're tatted up. You're on a streak. You got a fight in January, maybe in LA. That's close. Maybe in March. I don't know where that one is. It's unfortunate that the Sydney one is right in between because that would have been somewhat close to home. But them's the breaks. You're having a baby. We don't want to know what the sex of the baby is. Life is good for Dan Hooker. That's the top line here.
That's a great summary, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you very much, and good luck with everything. And always enjoy talking to you. Thanks for coming on. And we got you here.
Thank you, brother.
By the way, this is okay by you, right? Because some people. Oh, he's gone. All right. Well, there it is.
He says, "Yeah, that's really cool, man. Thanks for having me on."
You know, this is signed.
That's right.
It says Dan Hangman Hooker. There it is.
Should we call him back? Don't rub the autograph off.
No. I wish I was so laissez-faire. You know, he just doesn't seem to have a care in a worry in the world.
It's truly incredible.
Right?
The way that he was like, I guess I'm just going to have to beat them up to get some tickets, aren't I? Like, it's just go with the flow.
Remember that?
Train? Yeah, I'm just going to get tattoos. Why not?
Remember that with 300? He couldn't get tickets.
Yeah. He invited us when he came to the hotel. He invited us to go to Buffalo Wild Wings to watch it with him.
I do wonder where he ended up watching. I should have asked him that. It is remarkable. Just like I wish he'd be like. He just seems like the type of friend that you're like, Dan, I need you for the next 2 hours. Be like, all right, I'll be right there. Like he doesn't even question it. You know what I mean?
I mean, you spoke about it. Oscar told him fly to the furthest point
there it is.
The world that you can fly to.
Furthest point.
And he did.
From Auckland. Marabella, Spain.
Literally. And was he what'd you call it?
Marabella, Spain.
What is it? What was the flight? Did you guys ask?
Hours wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he said, what was it, 19 or 20 or something? Something ridiculous.
Multiple legs, right?
100 miles or something?
Jeez.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, remarkable. What a friend. And imagine if you're Oscar that you have a UFC superstar just being like, I don't know if he paid him. I don't know. Like, none of our business, but something tells me he didn't just because Dan's like, yeah, that sounds like a good time. I'll be there.
Yeah, they're friends. And then, I mean, there's another UFC superstar in the middle of the cage in the middle of the ring, rather. Who
it kind of worked out for Dan just being there, right? By proxy.
Yeah, I mean, the name in the Conor talk is never a bad thing.
Yeah, also, I just said like 1,500 miles.
1,500 miles.
Yeah, that was quite off.
I wonder how many legs.
But how many miles is it actually?
Well, it's 20,000 kilometers, which is like roughly 12,000 miles.
Yeah.
1,500 miles. What was I even talking?
Yeah, 1,500 miles is like
it's like Cali, right?
Is that even? I feel like Cali might even be further than that.
Maybe like 3K or something. Yeah. But yeah,
you know how far? Like Oscar posted a picture of like the furthest point from Auckland being Marbella. So I did it from New York. Perth is the furthest city from New York. So we're gonna have to go there someday.
Perth is the furthest city from New York.
Yeah.
It was a long ass trip. I went to Sydney and Melbourne. It's like 6 hours to LA and then I think like 14. It's long. Like I mean, New York to LA is long enough. And then you're like, okay, and now I'm going to get on for 14 hours. By the way,
one go, you just flew and then connected?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
There's a chance if I do that I might stay a night.
No, I don't believe in that. Get it over with.
You don't believe in it?
No. Get it over with.
Oh man.
What are you gonna do? Get out of the airport?
Listen, man, I'm flying economy. Okay, I don't get the bed and the recline and the 3-course meal and the bar to go watch the sports games. I'm crammed back there. Over 6 feet tall too.
As soon as you said the recline, I instantly thought of our flight and the guy who was reclining onto your lap.
Oh, brother. I can't stand it. Are you when you back in your economy days, did you recline the seat?
Okay, for the record, The last time I was in Australia was 2015, and then prior to that was 2010, 127, I believe was. No. 2011 was, 2011 because 112 was 2010. Newsflash, those were my economy days. The first one, I think I upgraded to super economy premium economy. Right. I did not fly business either time. These days, I won't even
These
sniff
days,
economy.
PJ or bust.
Yeah. These days, believe it or not, you joke. I've never been on a PJ.
Yeah, neither have I. I've never been in first class.
Really?
When's the last time you flew economy, Ariel?
The last time I flew economy was
price of milk as well.
No. First of all, the last time I flew economy was literally 2 months ago when I flew home from London with my family.
I'm so sorry. Are you okay?
No, it was all right.
What was the? I know there was some sort of reasoning behind this.
Yeah, you think I'm buying 5 business class tickets?
Oh wow!
See, and you can't do the classic Helwani, the part ways. It's like the parting in the sea.
No, are you kidding me?
Getting on the plane together, and Helwani's just like, "See you guys later." It's just like as he goes to his.
No, I would. I think that's insane when I see families do that. There are times where they go down the aisle and they're like, "Mr. Helwani, you're a 4K member. What are you doing back here?" And they actually give me free boxes of food, like those special boxes that you have to buy. They actually give it to me because they're so apologetic that I'm sitting.
They don't realize that you did it on purpose.
God, I'm glad Jordan's back.
That the other week.
Welcome
By the
back,
way,
Jordan.
I'm so keep that up there. 1,000%. I don't want to fly economy, and it's not because I'm big time.
I don't want to fly.
It's awful.
Either.
It's absolutely awful. Yes.
When we all went to Vegas, the whole point of this is when we all went to Vegas. You know, I don't have much torso. I'm all legs over here. So when people recline on me, it's just the worst. And as soon as we sit down, Rick is to my right, Frank is behind me, and Guy just cranks the seat just all the way into my lap. I am just like, brother. Like I was also trying to do work on my laptop. He damn near closed my laptop. He reclined so far back. It was just. It's just brutal.
I felt horrible looking across the aisle.
He got up and went to the bathroom. I did a sneaky, I just reached forward and just reclined it back up. As soon as he sat down, he noticed and just, it was like he was trying to break the seat.
Well, he wasn't.
That thing
He was
so far
rocking
back.
it back.
He wasn't a small man. He had some size to him, and so he was like getting into it and really like in GC's lap.
He's like, brother, come on, man.
You should just get rid of the button. You shouldn't be able to do it. I get angry just seeing people do
I
it.
never do it to the person behind me because I just
No way.
You just never know. Just get rid of the button, please. Because everyone's excuse is always, well, if they offer the button, then I should be able to do it. So just get rid of it.
Eric, have you ever flown business?
Yeah.
PT?
Oh, no. Come on.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not able to.
GC
I'll
and
be thrown out
PC,
of the
men of
city.
the people over here, we sit back by the bathrooms and take 45 minutes to get off the plane.
I've
Frankie?
had some
the free
bad ones
boxes.
to Vegas, man. Some bad ones beside the bathroom. I have been in hell for,
But
13 hours.
PT, you're flying on the airlines where they charge you for water. Like you're flying on the airlines where like it's rough sledding.
Me and Ariel's flight
Right
back
there,
from
man.
Manchester last year was a nightmare back in economy. It was like just these kids going crazy. They're throwing chips and cookies everywhere. They're playing in the aisles. It was an absolute tornado of a scene. The flight attendants completely lost control. Like there was like a reckoning against this family and all their kids. Like there was almost fights breaking out. And I was barely surviving. And then I get off. Helwani's freshly groomed.
It was actually one of the best. It was actually one of the best business class experiences.
He's like, did you get the hot pasta and the sundae for dessert?
Oh, the
Actually,
sundae was great.
Instead of the bar, bro, I was like, no, they threw us.
It was an actual bar.
Cold tea and crumpets at me.
Oh,
You got a skittle up your nose
over
from
the
one of the kids.
Was that Virgin? I think it was Virgin Atlantic.
The flight there was fantastic. Shout out to Virgin. And the flight back, it was hellacious. And I look over. I don't know if I want to name names. Gordon Ryan's back there as well.
Come on, you don't have to name names. Why'd you have to name names? You know what's funny about that? Actually, we booked it late. This was for the Misfits card. I actually didn't get business going there. I was in like premium economy. You'll recall a day later, I got very sick. I lost my voice. You remember all of that?
Oh yeah.
It was because I was sitting in economy.
Hit that topic bar real quick.
Yeah, it was because I was sitting in economy. I said,
I was getting
never
phone calls
again.
with your drinks, the hot drinks, and
It's
everything.
great. It just flows.
Connor's fighting for his life back
It was crazy.
Yeah, it's like the Seinfeld episode. You ever see that when Seinfeld's in the front? He's like, "What is going on back there?" You know, you're trying to sleep, and Elaine's trying to get in there and get the cookies and all that. By the way, speaking of, it's tough. Did you guys see this? I saw this courtesy of the great Twitter feed, No Context Ariel. Have you guys seen this from Sportskeeda? I guess they were recapping something that we were talking about on the program, and they included "It's tough" in the quote.
We've got it right here, actually.
All-time moment.
In the recent episode of the Ariel Helwani Show, Helwani discussed a number of topics with Merab Dvalishvili, including a potential rematch with O'Malley. However, at the end of the episode, the 42-year-old, God, am I that old? Received a message from Sugar.
I love that they gave your age.
Who took? Yeah, why? Why do I have to?
I don't know why that matters.
Fuck, I'm old.
Because you mentioned the thing about the wraps and the bagels.
It just kind of hits you in the face. God,
it's tough.
It is. Who took a hilarious jab at the two, claiming that Dvalishvili's nose made Helwani's nose appear smaller. I got a text from Sean. This is my quote. He says, "Merab's nose makes yours look small." I said, "Thanks." And I'm pretty sure, Frank,
it's tough. Got picked up into the quote.
Has been spoken.
Wait, so somebody who's tuning in and doesn't understand, Frank has the "it's tough" drop. Ariel's reading this quote, and then after he finishes, Frank hits the drop, and that quote made them think that
made it so good. It's so good.
It's my first time.
It's tough. I mean, I can't decide which part of the article is better, the "it's tough" or the 42-year-old.
Him reading it as just occurring to him that it says it as he's reading it. It's brilliant.
That being the descriptor for you is just so good. That's going to stick.
Hey, shout out to Josh Leviton on Twitter, who says, "Funny, I tuned into the Helwani Show while in business class on my flight, and the whole topic is business versus economy seats."
Must be nice.
Josh.
Yeah, enjoy it. Have a Sunday on me, Josh.
Probably complimentary Wi-Fi, too, that he's streaming it on.
Hell yeah.
I will say airplane Wi-Fi has souped up since
By the way, I didn't know that you can stream on.
That's what I'm saying.
On a plane.
It's up there now. I was streaming on our flight.
He's tweeting too. I mean, he's on multiple devices.
Tweeting is easy, but I didn't know you can actually stream. That's why I got YouTube Premium, so I could download the stuff and watch it. You can actually stream live now?
It's a little dodgy.
The airplane Wi-Fi has gotten a lot better.
I was trying to watch the
Ryanair
UFC card.
Yeah, well, that's
Ryanair,
PT.
you're not doing
that's
shit.
PT.
Yeah.
Ryanair, Aer Lingus.
I tried to stream the Noche UFC. Like, obviously, I'd left early, and you guys were at the event, and we had the parlay. I was getting sent all kinds of dodgy links because real ones don't like. I couldn't buy the pay-per-view and watch it because it's all geo-blocked. So I'm messing around with all these dodgy links, man. It was awful. I didn't know what happened. Everything just kept stalling out. I was waiting for GC's messages. It was awful.
They come on the PA and they're like, "Whoever is trying to access these illicit websites on our flight, could you please stop?"
It was bad. I was just reloading the whole time. Something occurred to me during your show today, Ariel. I have a new map for Francis Ngannou.
What does that mean?
As in, I have a new roadmap for his career.
Oh, please.
So, the end goal of this whole thing is to force the UFC to agree to make this, be it Aspinall or Jones or Stipe, whoever it is, it's to try and get that to happen. So, you have the Rico fight.
Oh.
Then you go to KSW and you fight Phil DeFries. You're doing a co-op with KSW. Then you go over to One Championship and you try to do a co-promotion with them. Anatoly Malikin is their champion, right? Their heavyweight champion. And so you're slowly just going to all these different organizations like WCW back in the day?
Yeah.
Or whatever the hell they did. And then eventually, look, he's beat everyone else. The only person left is the UFC heavyweight champion. That's what I think should happen.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice. I'm just not holding my breath for this to happen. But I do like it a lot. In fact, Rico Verhoeven will, in fact, be on the program tomorrow to answer to these rumors. I love how it's just like my idea that gets thrown out. Wow. That was like was that supremely loud for all of you? We're going to figure this out, Frank.
That was pretty.
No.
It was just for you.
All right.
Souped it up.
You wanted it louder.
Oh, what's going on? Should I pick this up?
Who is it?
Let me pick it up. Let me just see. It's I think, okay, I'm going to pick it up. Okay, we're live. Hey, yo, we're live on the show. We're live on the show. Oh, look who it is. I'm live on the air right now. Should I not? Hey, I got Rampage here and Cheeto Vera. We're live on the air right now, so don't say anything. And this guy who looks like me. Come on. This guy kind of looks like me. He looks like a Wish version of me. He wishes he looked as good as me. He wishes he was 1/10 as good looking as me. I'm doing a show here. Rampage is too busy to come on my show. Cheeto is too busy to come on my show. You fucking guys. Deal. Let's do it. Bye, guys. Love you guys. All right, there they are. Cheeto and Rampage.
Good stuff, man.
Thank you. Was that good? Doesn't
It's
know
great,
you.
man.
Well, I'm afraid that someone's gonna text. I'm afraid something's gonna happen. People calling me. All right, people are calling me right now. All right, people are.
From business class.
No, not from business class. Rico Verhoeven on the show tomorrow. Who else is on the show tomorrow? Oh, Regis Prograis. Big fight for him against Jack Catterall on Saturday. There's another. Fuck. Does anyone know?
Answer it.
Arnold Allen's on the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
Also, Chuck Mendenhall and Shaheen Al-Shadi are going to join us to preview UFC 308. I did get a text from Renato Moicano's manager, Oren Hodak, who tells me we never got offered any Perth fight. We even asked for Hooker and Turner previously, and now he's showing me the receipts. So, what do you guys think?
Hey,
Hooker, yes?
I have an idea. We should make this a segment every day where it's like you check your phone, take phone calls.
You know what's crazy?
No, like dependably, you always have things to report on at the end of the show.
Well, you know what's crazy? My phone was down the entire time. And then I'm like, yeah, maybe I should check to see if something happened. And then I see Cheeto Vera calling me on FaceTime. So I'm like, do I pick it up or not? I don't know. And you know what they were doing? I guess they were doing his show, Jackson, Rampage. And there was a guy there who they claimed looked like me. But if I'm being honest, like, didn't really look like me. You know. Dan Hooker. It feels like the Gaethje fight is a real thing. What do you guys think? Anyone interested in that?
I'm interested in any of those options that Dan is kind of swirling around with. I know, he said he doesn't want to get Dustin on the way out, but Dustin seems not on the way out anymore, right? Like we kind of reversed course on that pretty definitively. So Dustin, Justin, hell, I'll take Conor. Like I'll take any of those for Hooker.
Yeah.
Moicano, I'll take that too.
I like Moicano, Patty. I like Dustin. I like Dustin against Hooker. I like Justin against Hooker as well. The other guy we're not talking about is Fiziev. Where does he fit into all of this? I feel like he's going to get a fight soon. But he's got options, and I feel like he's close. I feel like he's close to making something happen. I did want to address one quick thing before we go. I saw an interview with my old friend Bilal Muhammad, and it's getting a little bit tiresome, all the lies and stuff like that. He did an interview with Submission Radio where he talked about, we all know the real reason. He keeps doing this thing, the real reason why he doesn't want to have me on his show. I've said it time and again, I can't have him on his show. I've invited all those people on the show. They won't come because their manager doesn't allow them to come on the show. The only one who has the balls to say, no, I'm in charge of my career is Kayla Harrison. She continues to do that. Certainly of the UFC fighters, we've had Derek Brunson, who's no longer in the UFC, come on once he left the UFC, but he has convinced them that if they're in the UFC, they can't go on the show. When you look at the rest of our guest list, it's the who's who of the UFC. Again, don't care, but he keeps saying that I've never wanted to talk to him, that I've tried to avoid him, that I don't give him props, this song and dance over and over again. And it gets a little bit annoying. And in this interview with Submission Radio, he even said, even before I was with Ali, he wouldn't have me on his show. And so then I went and checked when he went to Ali, according to his previous management, they said that he signed with Ali in January of 2019. And I think this is important because, again, if you want to call me a shitty journalist, a bad host, all this stuff, I can live with it. But don't make up shit. Don't lie. So he gets to the UFC. He loses his UFC debut. That was in July of 2016. He wins his next fight. He loses his next fight. He gets knocked out by Vicente Luque. He wins his next fight against Randy Brown. He wins his next fight against Jordan Meehan. He wins his next fight against Tim Means, a split decision. The Jordan Mein fight is a unanimous decision. There's a chance Ren counter win in there, and then Jeff Neal's a loss. So he's 5-3 at this point by January of 2019, by the time he leaves and goes and signs with Ali. Ali put the kibosh on me talking to his clients in April of 2019. So as of that point, he's a 5-3 welterweight. He's been knocked out. He loses a couple. He wins a couple. He goes on a little run here. 5-3. I've talked to him at media days. No one was talking about him as a title contender. I wasn't avoiding him. In fact, I heard that he didn't think that I liked him. I went straight up to him. I talked to him. He'll never talk to you about that. He'll never bring that up. And then he goes and signs with Ali. I can't talk to him at this point. So when he says that I don't talk to him and I haven't talked to him for years, it's because I can't. It's because he literally isn't allowed to come on this show. And so now he wants to do the whole big thing, oh, this guy's a hater and this and that, when there's countless examples of me showing him love. And I understand that he's asked these questions at times, and so he's not just bringing me up. I totally understand that, but I do see him on his show talking about me in this negative light, saying that I'm a clown and that I'm a hater and all this other bullshit. And it's tiresome to keep making up this stuff when he knows the truth. He knows that he's not allowed to come on. He knows that he listens to his manager. He knows that his manager has told all those guys that they can't come on. And he knows that when I was covering his fights, I was going up to him to interview him. And he knows that prior to signing with Ali, he wasn't exactly, I was doing a show once a week. There were less guests at our disposal, and he wasn't exactly in the mix. Now you could do the revisionist history thing and say, oh, I became a champion, but I'm sorry to say, back in 2016, 2017, there wasn't a huge clamoring when you're doing one show a week to have you on the program. You're going to hold that against me for years and years. It blows my mind that we're still talking about this utter bullshit, but it's just tiresome to keep changing the story and making yourself out to be, oh, the guy that I wasn't giving him the props. Guess what? Who gives a fuck about me? Who gives a fuck about my props? Who gives a fuck about my opinion? Do you, man? But just stop making up this shit about me, because it's getting very, very tiresome to listen to these lies and this violin. Oh, I don't get the props. I don't get this. If you don't like me so much, and if you don't respect me so much, and you don't care about my opinion, why do you keep bringing up the old shit? You're welcome to come on. You're not welcome to come on. I don't care. God bless. I'll still talk about you. I'll still cover you, because I'm able to separate the two. I'm able to talk about people who don't come on the show. I don't base my opinion based on people who come on the show or don't come on the show. But just stop making up stories. You left in 2019. I couldn't talk to anyone in 2019 as of 2019. And so that's why you haven't been on for the past 5 years. 5 freaking years it has been, this nonsense. April of 2019, Atlanta, Georgia. That event, the one that was Izzy versus Gastelum and Max versus Dustin. That's how long this thing has been, all because of a stupid tweet. So just tired, and I will not respond every time an insult is thrown my way. But when made up shit is thrown up my way, and his previous manager knows, Abe knows, that I tried to make things right, and I went up to him and I tried to clear the air and all this stuff. He could speak on it if he wants. I go to bed at night knowing that I've said the truth, and that, my conscience is clear when it comes to this silly, silly, silly story. So anyway, just wanted to talk about that before we go. And I think that's it. I think there's nothing else, right? I think we're done. Is there anything else I didn't get to? Welcome back, Lillian Garcia. She has signed with WWE. It appears, replacing Samantha Irvin. And a lot of people were very excited about that. And tomorrow on the show, I do want to tell you that we've got On the Nose. We've got the post going up in about an hour. So throw us your questions over there. And we'll do a 308 preview with the man and the myth. They used to have their show together, Chuck Mindenhall and Shaheen Al-Shadi, who's doing a tremendous job over at uncrowned.com. And also over at uncrowned.com just dropped a story by Ben Folks on Robert Whittaker, and a great story from Drake Riggs, who has been killing it, about the history of MMA's lineal heavyweight championship, which I love that stuff. And it's not linear, by the way. It's lineal. Linear is a TV. This is like a linear TV. Lineal means like the continuous.
Not the straight line.
Well, there could be like ups and downs, but for the most part, it should mean like the connection between all the.
I got it.
You know, you feel me?
I feel you.
Can't wait.
With it.
Yeah, way to tie it all together, Frank. It was a beautiful moment as I was leaving today. As my kids were leaving, my son said, "Are you going to the city today?" And I said, "Yes." This is the new cadence, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And he says, "Does that mean you're missing the Knicks game?" And I said, "Son, I will be there. I will be there for tip-off." That's all I want. That's all I want. That's all I want. All I want is a son, a kid, or two, or three who wants to watch the Knicks with me, and that is, I'm lucky enough to have that. Jalen Brunson, king of New York. We're trench. You get my music, Frank. Got enough.
Man, I got that artist series poster for you.
Oh, where's it?
I'll show. There it is. Average Joe Art. Shout out.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. The Hawaiian flag, man.
Ooh, I like the Georgian. Yeah.
Bull, Blessed Express, gold gloves. Great poster.
Oh, I love the Blessed Express thing. Yeah, and the bull there. That's nice.
Just wish it was the real poster.
It's like right there. I wonder
Right
why
there,
they don't
man.
just make it. It's like right there.
So epic. So sick.
You think it's because they have to pay these people or what?
I guess, yeah, if you're going to put it everywhere. Maybe. I don't know, but it's great.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well done. He does great stuff. All right. Boys in the back on Thursday, we need to clear up the thing with Juliana. Is she going to make a pick or not? I don't know. She's all confused.
She will. She made one last week.
I know, but she got in too late.
She missed the deadline.
She got in too
Still
late.
at the deadline this week. I'm actually about to reach out to her right now.
All right. So that will be on Thursday. And then the Crack on Friday featuring the great Lerone Murphy and others. I tell you, this Rico Verhoeven thing is starting to gain some steam. Maybe we'll do a Helwani vision for that. How about that?
That sounds fun.
That would be great. I would love to do that. Let's work on that. Thank you very much to all our guests, Dan Hooker, Eric Nicksick, Dan Hardy, Aleksandar Rakic. Thank you very much to all of you. Thumbs up to the chat. Thumbs up to the chat. I'll answer all your questions and super chats tomorrow. Thank you to them. Back tomorrow. Same time, place. Peace.